Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Max's Man Cave. I believe episode 46. We're on our way to 50, the 50th episode. Not next weekend, but I believe the weekend after that will be July 9th, and that will be the Max's Man Cave birthday bash. I will be turning 30. I will no longer be able to say that I am in my 20s anymore. So,
the fiery ritual of carousel. Perhaps you'll be renewed.
So that should be a lot of fun. I'm just going to send out a link to all of these guys and plenty of other guests that you guys have seen throughout the past 2 years that I've been on YouTube. And it'll just be a fun birthday hangout. So be excited for that. That's a command. Be excited. You will be excited for that.
No choice.
No choice. That you must accept and be excited.
Max,
so looking forward to that.
When you take initiative. Oh man.
Very high tea energy. That's high tea. So, but yeah, we got some really interesting topics tonight. We've got three main ones that we're going to talk about. The first one being the Flash and DC and what they have for the future. The other is the San Diego Comic-Con and how many people have dropped out of the San Diego Comic-Con in terms of these big corporations like Disney and Netflix and stuff like that. And third, if we have time, we'll go over Disney's chief diversity and equity officer, Latondra, leaving and what that means for Disney. But before we get into that, I got to introduce my panel. Drew, what's going on, brother? Thank you again for being here tonight.
Hey, it's glad to be here. It's fun to be here. And just showing Max beforehand, I was going through some comics I rummaged through at the warehouse, found some old Cerebus and some Monsters, Inc. Yeah, and some old Vault of Horror and Tales from the Crypt. I'm enjoying those tonight. Yeah.
I worked on that, Monsters, Inc.
Yes, you did. Yeah, look at that right there. Editor Aaron Sparrow.
Look at that. My brief and unhappy time at Boom.
But you did good work there, and that's what matters. You did some really great work.
Yeah, that's always the thing. Is you no matter what the situation is, your name is on it, and you got to try to do your best.
Yeah, and you did. I think for what it's worth, I think you produced some great stuff, even with the circumstances. Which brings me to this man right here, who has you're looking very young, sir. I must say, with the new beard configuration, I think you do look very young. So
I look very Amish. This was accidental. Well, it wasn't really accidental, but last week I was kind of under the weather and I was blowing my nose a lot. And for those of us with mustaches, that sucks. And so I shaved off my mustache, much to everybody's horror on Wes's channel when I first appeared on there. So it's coming back. Don't worry.
Oh, that's always the good thing about shaving your face or your beard is that it always comes back. Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah. Not so much on the head or but your face, your ears, your back. You can always count on it there.
Oh yeah, all the places that you normally don't want it to come back, it always tends to. And speaking of people who you don't want to come back, but always ends up coming back, we have Josh, our very own Joshua McDonald, who is looking like a proper YouTuber. And might I say, actually has, though I may have a good setup, you have better lighting, sir. Your lighting is impeccable.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Mm. There's a lot of background noise. Am I?
Yeah, I think.
Did my audio go bad?
Oh, actually, you may have. It kind of it popped out and then it came back in for a second, but you actually sound a little bit clearer now.
Yeah.
Do I really? Oh, interesting.
Oh, there you go. All right, sweet. Even though you ruined Josh's intro.
How dare you?
Well, I didn't want him to come back. Even though I co-hosted you on Tuesdays, it's one of those situations. I just want you all to myself.
I have 5 more days in this month. Let me have my intro.
That's true. What? Yeah. Like, wait, Josh. You know what? You should be up here in that case.
No, I'm doing well. I'm trying. I'm trying to get there with the lights. Oh shit, bad weather, man. I need more over here. So, and then I have art that I mentioned 3 trips to Walmart to get command strips, and all 3 trips to Walmart I didn't get command strips. So
Oh my god.
I blame the greeter at Walmart. That old guy that's always at the entrance of it's his fucking fault.
He'll throw you with his warm greetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shame.
I don't like it when you walk in there like, "Welcome to Walmart. Please let me die."
You're like, "Oh god, now I don't want to shop here." And
I know, it's like, "Oh, why do they have these old people in prison? This guy should be at home, like enjoying his retirement." But he's here at Walmart just waiting for a fight to break out.
They're gonna be like that asshole in the MVP hat just made the 78-year-old man cry. Like, my name is Maxfield Von Priestley. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Go subscribe to my channel. You're just pretending to be me all over the place. No, it's good to see you guys here, and thank you for swinging by tonight. Let me say hello to who we've got. We've got Harley Dave. What's going on, brother? Jana, sup, nerds? Freaking nerds. Wode, what is up, Wode? Hey, Wode, how did your tournament go today for the 40K tournament? We saw him this morning for the Warhammer 40K build stream, and he was on his way to go purge the heretic. We have Jay. Hello, Jay. Great to see you as well. Cartoons and comics. What's up, man? Cool avatar. I like that. JK. Hello to you. And green-haired anti-liberal who also rocks her MVP hat. I love it. Hail to you and hello. Jaden Hamilton. Hello. That's like the
Seinfeld. Hello. The hello.
I was about to say that looks very much like it. La la la. It's either me or the voice. Cartoons and comics. Yes. DEI must DIE. Let's see. Nadia, who is shrimping, always shrimping in the chat, and we love to see it. We love to see it.
Shrimping ain't easy.
Shrimping it ain't easy. It is not. Mark McGrath, who is down with MVP? You know me, my man. Mark, hopefully you got in touch with these guys so you can get your original art.
Yes. Yeah, he wants some free original art from Eli Stone.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which was just so awesome. Zombie Box Reviews, hello to you. Thank you for being here. Aaron Sparrow, did we find Carmen Pasha's Hollywood Spy?
It's funny. It's funny. I got so many messages, and I hadn't even seen anything about it. I just saw so are you are you in with Doomcock? I started getting all these messages, and I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, he said his source is Sparrow, and I was like, would I use my real name? I mean, I guess it would be a good way to throw people off, but. Yeah. I don't know anything. I don't have any inside knowledge of the inner workings of Lucasfilm, so I just know that it's a trash. I just know that it's a trash fire.
Yes, very much so. Maybe you're playing 4D chess, and you're just yeah. We all know you as Aaron Sparrow.
From my secret source, Aaron Sparrow. Well, obviously, it's not Aaron Sparrow. He would never.
We have Miller number 1. What is happening? What's going on, dude? Ash Lauren, hello to you. Thank you for being here. And Ravul Arvida, hail all. And Cajun Corey, what's up, Cajun? Good to see you here, brother. Thank you. It's I'm missing you guys from Dallas. It's such a bummer that I was hanging with X-Ray Girl and Kara this morning. Shout out to X-Ray Girl. Go tit shirt. We were saying this morning we miss seeing everyone from Dallas. So not you two though. I see you guys way too often. But.
Fair.
Dang, Woad Warrior lost.
What?
I said Woad Warrior, he lost.
Oh no! Where did? Oh no! 75 to 85. Dang.
See, when you said 40K initially, just 40K, I thought you were talking about someone went running. I was like, oh, they did a 40K run. That's pretty awesome.
Oh my
Lord. They're
Lord.
talking about the game. Never mind.
World Eaters defeated. Oh, World Eaters are actually pretty freaking dope. But Nurgle did not want me to exceed 7 wins. 7-1, dude. That's a great ending score, though. I mean, that's a good record. Roman of the Empire, hail to you, sir. Great to see you. Cajun says, Drew, I'm enjoying these comics I got in Dallas. Hell yeah!
Awesome. Glad to hear it.
Good to
You're
hear.
welcome.
And Aaron has worked on those as well, Cajun. So you got pretty much a whole team of guys who have worked on those books. Because I believe, Josh, you even have seen some of those scripts, right? At least to give some feedback for.
Yeah, I got to see some early scripts. I think for like issue 2 and 3 when Joe was editing them. So
okay,
yeah,
noise. Well, we are going to get right into it. Go ahead.
Wait, before we get started, I want to point out that Max completely ignored Jay the Deep-Minded's comment about, this whole 3,000 subscribers and Max wearing silkies on his birthday stream. If we get there, I think Max just doesn't want to give the people what they want. So
what in the hell are silkies?
If you have to ask, you don't want to know. No,
I just remember I was in a thrift. I was in a thrift store once with my brother, and this kid, this very I don't want to cast aspersions, but this kid came skipping in, and he just grabbed a hold of some velvety thing on the rack and was like, "Look, Grandpa, a silky wilkie." And my brother and I just went, I don't know why that. Oh, no, that we didn't like that. And we just walked away. We were like, something about that.
No. Yeah.
You call them Ranger panties. Yeah, there you go.
This is what they are right here. Ranger panties, baby, for the win.
One comment down. Boom.
Yes, they are God's gift. Josh can confirm.
Yeah, I will confirm.
He can confirm. Yes, no. So for my monetization stream probably a year or so ago, I basically said for $50, I would either take a shot of vodka or I would get up and play the music to Return of the Mac and dance in silkies, which are basically Ranger panties, which are like little short shorts that the Marine Corps uses to do physical fitness tests in. So needless to say, Harley Dave was one of the evil yet kind gentlemen who donated $100 and said, "Dance, monkey, dance." And he made me take a shot and get up and show off the
shot. The shot probably helped. Probably helped you do the dance.
After a few of those donations, it made it much easier to get up and dance. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yep, everyone tends to shrimp for the silkies. That's for sure.
Yeah, just don't ever say that I was never looking out for your best interest.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's definitely it's hard to pass up. So maybe for the birthday stream we'll pop them back on. But I think I've told this story plenty of times before. What's up, Copa? Good to see you, man. Thank you for being here. But I think I've told you guys the story before where I went into my local comic shop and out of every video that I've ever done, my worst fear is that someone at my LCS will be like, "Oh, you're that fucking guy who talks about the culture war and how comic books have become too political and all this stuff. Man, you don't belong here." I would hate for that to happen. But no, my LCS manager found the episode of me dancing in silkies, which somehow is worse. And he was like, "Did I see you dancing on YouTube the other night?" And I was like, "How did you find that?" So, yes.
So word on the street is you dance on YouTube for nickels.
Hey, a man's got to do what he's got to do to make some money around here. So
pay for comics, yeah, got you.
Yeah, for comics, that is true. I'm the Joe Glass of YouTube. No,
no, not quite.
Not quite. Ben, what's up, dude? Great to see you. Thank you for being here. Missing you, brother. Hope all is well. All right. Well, let's pop this bad boy on the screen here. Because we will lose more people the more we talk about silkies, unfortunately.
Will we?
It's a tease at that point. If I'm not showing them off, if I'm just talking about them, people will leave. So you guys actually saw The Flash. I have not seen it. I've seen portions of it through, let's say, utilizing my Jack Sparrow techniques on the 7 Seas. I have been able to watch portions of the film, and I couldn't get through the opening sequence. I legitimately tried to sit down and say, you know what? I'm going to make a good faith effort to watch this film so I can effectively critique it. and I couldn't even get through the first sequence because it was just so embarrassingly awful. And people have responded the same way. What's up, Josh?
I was just gonna say to give some slight little bit of potential credit to the film. The first scene is by far the worst scene.
That's fair.
I'm not saying it's a great movie. I'm just saying the first scene is by far the worst scene.
I'd like to point out that I did not contribute any money to this film. I saw it for free.
Hey, there you go. Smart.
Which is the only way that I would go to see it, despite my love of Michael Keaton and 89 Batman. I just knew that like 2 Ezra Millers was going to be way more Ezra. I'm not good with 1 Ezra Miller, much less 2. So
I equated it to watching Dude, Where's My Car or Dumb and Dumberer. When you're watching those two clips back and forth, I'm just tugging at my shirt. I'm like, God, will this just end already? Yeah. And about an hour. I tell everyone, skip the first hour, then go in when they go to Wayne Manor. That's where you're fine. Just walking on that scene.
He's still excruciating in every scene that he's in my opinion. But it was just a bad idea to center a film around him. It was bad casting from the beginning, and I don't know what they were thinking.
And it's even more hilarious when they make Michael Keaton Batman like the front and center for all the toys, the promo, everything. He's the guy.
Yeah. And I think that's what we've seen here now. It's like, Aaron, even if you did pay to see this movie for the Michael Keaton stuff, it doesn't even look like your dollars would have made any difference right now, because not only has it opened on a 55 million opening weekend, but now we're seeing a 70 plus. I think right now it's at 70, projected at 72% drop off for its second weekend, which is on par with Morbius, Sony's Morbius, and is actually lower than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Morbius, a movie nobody asked for, and nobody knew, nobody knew what it was. This is on par with it. A character like the Flash, who had a success, I guess nothing on the CW was ever really successful, but a semi-successful TV show that people enjoyed the first few seasons of. Flash has got some recognition as a character. Obviously, he was in those Justice League films, but yeah, just what a miserable box office performance for this film.
Yep, absolutely, man. Now, you guys, like I said, have actually watched the film. You guys have seen the actual content of what this movie is. A lot of people are coping on Twitter with it right now. I saw one comment that said, I can't wait for people, once this comes out on HBO Max, I can't wait for people to be arguing why this is the best superhero film. And I was like, don't worry, that will never be an issue.
Yeah, that's not an argument that will happen. I mean, you can try to make it happen. You can try to make fetch happen, but it's just not going to happen.
Yes. So why do you think, from your guys' perspective, we're seeing this massive of a drop off, one, and also such a low first weekend and second weekend box office of only 55 million opening weekend? It says it's bringing in only 14 to 16 million for the second weekend. It's still in the third spot behind Disney Pixar's Elemental, which also no one asked for, and Sony's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Did Sony Spider-Verse take the first place spot this week?
I think
did it take it back
for the weekend? I know Wednesday it jumped in as number one. I don't know how it finished the weekend.
That is embarrassing.
Oh yeah, because I mean, even Elemental, and we can say like nobody asked for this, but kid stuff comes out, and kid stuff for the most part usually does solid numbers, because kids and taste. And
get back to me when Ruby Gilman drops, Josh.
Yeah, well, yeah. But kids will go like, "Yell, I want to see this," even if it looks like it's crap. But why did the Flash fail? It's like, dude, where do you start?
Spider-Man took number one for the weekend. Yeah.
Wow.
But hey, you know what? It's a good movie, so. Look what
happens. 4 weeks old,
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying. Look what happens when you actually make good content and people get word of mouth out there that like, hey, this is a solid movie. You should go see it.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the Flash. Do you want me to just go through a laundry list of reasons why this isn't doing well at the box office? You've got Ezra Miller. And Ezra Miller's scandals, what are his scandals? Oh, I don't know. Grooming children, choking women out, getting in fights, getting arrested, burglarizing homes.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Threatening people with guns over an argument about the game Parcheesi. And not even an in-game argument, just an argument about the origins of Parcheesi. And he's like, you're about to get yourself in a really serious situation, showing off his gat. The crazy, what is he, the mad goose lizard?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Trying to start a cult.
Yeah, like, and that alone is the Ezra Miller effect right there. Like just that, like that alone is sinking your ship.
Damn it! The only cult we will allow in Hollywood is Scientology.
You're damn right. And don't walk near their buildings; they will kidnap you. I swear. Kidnapping. But yeah, you look beyond Ezra Miller. You've got Warner Brothers DC. They've pretty much said these movies don't even matter because they're rebooting everything. So why would I go see it? I think people are tired of anything Snyderverse related. I feel like they've been burnt. They feel like they've been burned by the Snyderverse. Nothing's consistent. Nothing is solid or strong. Why? Like, why go see this? Oh, and hey, we did 50 million fan screenings 2 months before the movie came out. So everyone that actually did want to go see it, even those that didn't, like Aaron, saw it for free. Some of them more than once. So why would I fucking pay to go see this? Except I did pay to go see this. So, maybe
no.
Oh, Josh just fell off the turnip truck.
To be fair, I have AMC A-list Stubs members, so I paid to go see it.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh, you're making a dent in that $50 billion debt that they have. So, you know what? At least, you're helping.
It's more than that.
Oh, yeah.
Now it is, right? I remember I did a project actually for one of my classes. It was called Business in the News, and we basically had to act like we were a consulting group from Deloitte, and I chose David Zaslav in the Warner Brothers Discovery merger. And I said, what is this going to look like, especially with $50 billion in debt or whatever it was? And that was 6 months ago, 7 months ago. You know what I mean? Like, what are they at now? So, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Aaron, but yeah, we're talking more than that, right?
Yeah, it's just accruing every day. The thing that people forget about is the interest on these things. For example, all of the debt that Disney has, that's accruing interest all the time. And sometimes you can borrow to pay off interest, but you want to do that when interest rates are low, and corporate interest rates right now are really high. So, all these companies that are just losing money hand over fist, they're all in really bad positions.
Yeah, because Warner's selling off their music properties or whatever, like the licenses to those. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow.
I think at the time too, from the article that I read, and like I said, this was months ago, so I don't know if it still holds true, but they're actually thinking about licensing out all these DC characters too. Like they're thinking about licensing out Batman, like the Batman, like their version of their Spider-Man, their equivalency of Spider-Man. They're thinking about licensing out these characters so that other people can get their hands on them. And it just shows that I think they just need that money to at any cost at this point. Yeah, me too, Wode. That sounds much better than watching the film, unfortunately. Is Josh still sloppy simping for the Flash?
No, the only thing I sloppy simp for is you, Zaxx. Oh, so sweet.
I can't believe that anybody is calling this the best superhero film they've ever seen.
It's embarrassing.
It is. And that's part of the I would say too, one of the problems that this movie had was it got a B cinema score, and cinema scores are always notoriously like extremely kind. Like you'll have crap movies and they're getting like a B plus or an A. So if you do get a B, like your movie sucks. And I think part of the problem people even had that much of an expression or distaste for it was because it got so overhyped going into it. Well, Max, what are you searching for?
I was going to I'm going to bring up real quick because we're talking about Flash expectations. We're also talking about like what's the term I'm looking for? I'm trying to pull up my tweet that I posted a little while ago. Yes, here we go. So I posted this a few days ago. Soups. because people have been saying like, who is defending this film, right? And who is saying that this is the best superhero movie of all time? It's people like this. This movie, The Flash, is easily a 9 out of 10. A 9 out of 10. What films in the history of the world have I watched that are a 9 out of 10? Maybe 5. Maybe 5 are a 9 out of 10. You know what I mean?
Maybe 10 if you're you're really pushing it.
But the fact that there are people that are defending this, saying like, guys, get over yourselves. Spy Kids. Remember Spy Kids?
Yeah,
It's
Spy Kids
CGI,
sucked.
blah, blah, blah.
Spy Kids sucked. I hated it.
Since when did we let CGI ruin our entire cinematic experience of a movie? And it's like, that's not what we're arguing. Like, yes,
No.
the CGI was awful, but like, it's such a gaslight argument. But it is kind of ridiculous that
I'll tell you a movie
like this are saying this.
I'll tell you a movie that has garbage CGI and it's still a good movie. The Last Starfighter. Go back and watch The Last Starfighter. It is a great movie. It's got a great narrative. The characters are all believable and interesting. And the CGI is like right when they were first developing it. So now it looks like the animatics that are unfinished when you see CGI. That's what it was. It was basically the animatics. That was all they could do. There's no textures. There's no nothing. So all the space battles are this terrible, terrible CGI. And it doesn't matter because the story's good.
I'm going to say the same thing for the Richard Donner cut for Superman 2. Because like a lot of those scenes are like added in, decades later, like through computer and everything, using test screen footage because they couldn't finish it. Even that is better to watch than this because it's a great film, regardless.
And I think there's something to be said for people who can enjoy a film and yet still understand that it's not great, right? Like Blade, the 1998 film. I love Wesley Snipes' depiction of Blade. The CGI and some of the acting and some of the dialogue is
the female lead's not great.
Yes,
but Wesley Snipes is perfect. And Chris Christopherson's great, and Stephen Dorff, one of the best movie villains, in a superhero film of all time. He's fantastic in that role.
I think good. He just chews up the scenery, and I love it.
I think too, you have to understand, movies and the time that they were made. Like, you have to kind of give it that bit of a grading curve. If something came out in the late 90s and you're like, oh, I hated that movie because of the CGI, like, fuck off. Come on.
Yeah.
But it's true. But to take something, to look at 2023 and then be like, well, the CGI didn't bother you for these movies. Yeah, because the technology wasn't there. So the fact that it's not there for this movie just means it's lazy. People weren't putting money into it like they should have, or they screwed the production over because they filmed shit at the very last minute and decided, I don't care, just get it out. And all three things, they're disgraceful. Like, people are paying money to go see these films, and the film industry has made a shit ton of money in the past. Do better, Senator.
You need
to step up.
You need to do better, Senator.
Go look at Ghostbusters. The CGI in Ghostbusters done in the 80s for Slimer is better than the Flash.
Yeah.
Yeah. At first, I thought you meant Lady Ghostbusters. So.
No, what? Lady what?
Ghostbusters 2016.
I never saw it.
I'm not sure that exists.
Yeah.
Copa, comments like this get you banned from Max's man.
Yeah. Copa, because of this comment, I hope your dick gets caught in your zipper. How about that?
Oh.
Ooh. I'm on fire.
How'd you get the beans above the Frank?
I've had a little alcohol tonight, guys. I apologize.
Ooh, good. I like Spicy Josh. That's good. Well, yeah, and I think what was the other thing I was gonna say? We're talking about CGI. We're talking about this is just. I think this just caught me off guard. I don't even know how to respond to that.
You know what that is? That's revenge because you didn't read out his entry comment, which was actually really funny.
His entry comment?
Yeah, you acknowledged him, but you didn't read his comment, and it was actually really good.
Oh, sure. Okay. My bad, Copa. Oh, what's up, Punk? Good to see you, Punk Waddle. So, but overall, yeah, I think what's sad is that people who kind of defend the film for being shitty or knowingly accepting mediocrity means that we will never get high art. You know what I mean? Because if people continually praise things that are lazy or pandering or lecturing, or even not pandering and lecturing, because I don't think Flash had any of that, but more so just the laziness and the uninspired nature of just member berries and bringing back heroes that have been dead for years, which is disgusting in my opinion. Like, I feel like those arguments have no weight in the grand scheme of things, and we will continue to get just like crap material and crap content if we don't.
Here's really, yeah, you're absolutely right, Max. And here's really the bigger problem for these studios. Not every superhero needs to be a $200 to $300 million extravaganza. Not every superhero story needs to be a world-ending threat, right? You know, it needs to. You can do smaller stories, smaller scales. You know, you could. What happens to the Flash just like defending his city from a very small, villain plot?
From the rogues, they gather together, try to take over Central City. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They've lost the plot though in terms of like scale. They I don't think they get it. They really don't understand how, if you go all the way here, you skip a whole area of drama. And then you got to walk back, and now, especially because they've gone full multiverse now, the stakes are so absurd at this point. It really does lose all its meaning. I do believe, actually, that the solution is still doing something very small and very meaningfully. And the best thing that they could do right now is cut these freaking budgets by a quarter and get, the best scripts that they possibly can get that have a mind towards avoiding lots of special effects and are more reliant upon character and story. And if they could do that, and in the interesting way of the comic genre, I think they could repair the whole thing, and then we could start to build again the kind of universe that we all love, because they just went too big too soon.
And Jesse, that's which, by the way, hello, sir. Thank you for being here. I'm glad that you were able to make it too, and that's a perfect segue, because not only did you segue into your introduction, but also a segue into kind of where I would love to hear what you guys think about this. But where does DC go from here? Like, what's their next move? Because they still have Aquaman to release, and they still have Blue Beetle to release. So I'll hand it off to Aaron, because I know he's got something to say. But I mean, if we're seeing a 70% drop on Flash with Michael Keaton Batman, what is Blue Beetle going to do, and how do they come back after that when the brand has been tarnished that much?
Like I told you before the show started, I have a friend who saw the Blue Beetle movie and said it is just terrible. Like it is just awful. Like it's so hard to watch and so hard to care about. And it's a shame, because I really like that kid from Cobra Kai. And I like the character of Blue Beetle. He did say it doesn't shy away from the Ted Kord of it all, so that's at least a positive.
That's good.
But yeah, he said it's not good.
That kid from Cobra Kai is not the best actor, though, even though I like him too.
Jesse, you sound suspiciously like what's the director that directed the second? What was it? Not Force Awakens. Last Jedi?
Rian Johnson?
Yeah, for some reason you sound so familiar. I can't put my finger on it.
You catch me over on that there Film Threats?
You know what? Maybe it was.
Doing another impersonation. And I'm going to maybe be helping out with some of the future of the putting things on trial.
Oh, how fun, man. I love that show, and it is so entertaining. And when they had Rian Johnson come into play, I go, he sounds a bit familiar. Also, this comment is everything. Yes, Zaxx, I watched Extraction 2 last night. Gosh dang it, man. Those guys
another great superhero film that had a small budget was Dread with Carl Urban. That was like a $40 million budget. That's what you need right there.
That's a great example. Example.
So freaking good. Now, what would be, Josh, do you think that they could do that effectively with like a Midnighter? Like a solo Midnighter, and make it really down to earth and gritty? Like, because he's street level, right?
I think we need to look at perspective too. Like, yes, you can. I legitimately think you can. But if you go back to 2012, when Joss Whedon was doing the first Avengers, his production budget was $200 million for the Avengers, and the Flash's production budget was pushing $300 million. I mean, yes, I understand that the cost of things have increased, but at some point you need to stop relying on, what is it, the Void or whatever they call it, where they go film in front of a huge blue screen. Volume, there we go. Yeah. Stop relying on that crap. Like, you don't need it. Just go back, think harder. If you take some of the budget away, they're going to work on making a better product because they have to. So yeah, take the money away. Take the money away. But we also have to look at it from the perspective too. You know, we're talking about these future Warner Brothers projects. Like, I'm nervous for James Gunn's Superman Legacy at this point because you've had 100%. Shazam. You've had Shazam 2 bomb. You have The Flash bomb. You're gonna have Blue Beetle bomb, and you're probably gonna have Aquaman 2 bomb. And at that point, you're gonna have people that, like, you have to get these films bonded. You're gonna have people saying they don't want to give money or much money for these films, and you're gonna be screwed.
Can I say something, Josh? Adding to what you're saying, there's like an extra factor, kind of tied into what's being said here, which is the news cycle is so fast. There's so much information coming out. Things are changing. Dates are being added. But to a normal person, it's all just freaking noise. Because us, like this group of people here, like, we're people who are paying attention. And in order to actually pay attention, it's a fucking slipper. We're just always paying attention. We're always paying attention to this stuff, so we know generally what's going on. But if you're not one of us, and you're not paying attention, and you're a normie, and that's most people, so let's say like 80% of this audience who go to watch these movies are taking cues from people like us, and they're not exactly paying attention, and they see that we're confused and not exactly happy, and they're not exactly sure what's going on. Has it changed hands? It changed hands, but now a movie came out that is the same actor, the same everything as Scott Snyder. Ezra Miller's still here. Michael Keaton's in here. To a normal person, I think right now in the DC universe, it's like, oh, who knows what's going on with that? I'll wait and see. If these things, I hear enough good things or whatever else, I'll watch that. But the idea that, like, I'm going to rush out and be a part of the group is confused. The group is fighting and not fucking happy. And, like, who wants to be a part of that group?
I think I think the multiverse is a normie viewing killer too. I think it's too much for a normal person to wrap their head around, because they're not watching every Disney Plus show, and they're not, keeping up on every single thing, and they don't remember what happened 5 movies ago. They remember the broad strokes, but you're trying to pick up these little threads. Like, who gives a crap about Secret Invasion? It's it's a TV series based off of Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel, a movie I didn't like. Oh, let me jump right back into that. How long ago was that movie? 2016, 2017?
And they have just as much weight, Aaron, as the other one. Like, Miles Morales almost has as much weight in moviedom as Spider-Man does. Peter Parker's had how many movies? Miles Morales has had 2 movies now as the lead. That's the differentiation between the history in the comics and how much story there is to tell. And then it almost makes it seem as if everything only has a few stories to tell, and then we're on to other things. So it's just the multiverse. Like, it doesn't, there's no depth, it seems.
Yeah, you skipped 70 years of good Marvel Comics history to get to, what was the initiative? All new, all different.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You skipped all of that so that you could bring out America Chavez and Miss Marvel, and then, characters that have not gotten over in the comics. And then they're like, hey, how come they're not getting over in the movies? Well, number one, sometimes the movies have made characters interesting that weren't. Like, I would say that Hawkeye TV show, Kate Bishop, much more relatable and likable on that than she's ever been in the comics, where she is extremely unlikable.
Comics in the Young Avengers, from the get-go, she was always the worst character, and Hailey Stanfield did indeed make me like her too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it can be done, but they're not putting in the effort, and they're hiring writers that don't. It's like, hey, don't read the comics. So I'm just creating this character now from whole cloth based on a couple of notes, and they don't become interesting. America Chavez was terrible. The actress that plays Kamala Khan, very charming, and I hear that the show's good, but who cares? And I'm not interested in seeing the Marvels at all. Even though I watched WandaVision, and I don't care anymore.
Yeah, and Miss Marvel too. Miss Marvel and America Chavez, they're real problems because they're the wrong generation. For those of you who haven't read the comics, you've got the young Avengers who were introduced, let's say, maybe 20 years ago by Alan Lindberg and Jim Chang. And then you've got what would eventually kind of come to be called the Champions, which was characters like Amadeus Cho and Miss Marvel and Miles Morales. And each one of these guys are a different generation of characters who take place in their storylines. I was talking about The Flash on my podcast, and Barry Allen, DC bringing him back was the stupidest fucking thing they ever could have done in their damn lives. He is the linchpin story-wise of the DC universe. He begins the tale of the continuity of the DC universe with his death. 25 years of the best stories that DC has ever published revolve around him being dead, and the replacement Flash trying to live up to his legacy and what he's been left behind. To not to water down Wally West by making Barry more like Wally and giving Barry the center stage whilst taking everything out of Peter Parker and Wally West are two bosom buddy characters. DC never fully realized it, never pushed Wally as hard as they should have, but he was their Peter Parker and Uncle Wally instead of Uncle Ben. He learned from his uncle how to do the right thing. His uncle was dead. He was living up to it, but it just had a little bit more of a rock star vibe where Uncle Ben had a little bit more of the poor man's, I'm going to go help all the homeless people, the hermit guy. Peter Parker, the stature is just smaller, but the Flash is so big, as most of the things in the DC universe are, so mythological, honoring a rock star, honoring the superhero who died to save the multiverse in the most pivotal story of all the comics in all of the DC universe. Like, that shit was important.
Well, that's why I think Marvel has always been the world outside your window type of mentality, which is so much more street level. It gives its characters a little bit more groundedness and humanity, even though DC has done that as well. But like you said, DC is much grander. It's universal, it's multiversal or whatever.
It has legacy. And that's always been the strength of the DC universe, is the legacy. So with Wally West, you had Peter Parker, but you had trying to live up to the legacy of the previous Flash who sacrificed himself to save everything. I've always said the only interesting thing that Barry has ever done was die. And, it's like, those stories are fun, but that was his moment. That was his moment. And out of that, we got all these great Wally stories. So then they bring Barry back because Dan DiDio's like, well, I like Barry. And so screw what the fans want. And so they bring him back and they just set about just destroying Wally West in every way possible. And it's like, you guys, and this is what we're seeing, all throughout the big two, is you've got a lot of people in there with their own agendas and their own, instead of like, what can we deliver that the fans will want that'll keep the fans engaged? It's like, what do I want for my peer group to pat me on the back? And that's what they're putting out there. And that's why these things are failing.
I think I wanted to speak also about something that you said earlier, Aaron, which was the shows, and maybe Jesse, you'd spoken about it earlier a little bit too, but the shows and the movies and the normies and how they view all this stuff. You cannot tell me that someone goes, oh, hey, the Marvels are going to come out. And you go, oh, that's the one with the three different Miss Marvels, right? And they go, well, yeah, if you watched, Miss Marvel, the show, well, actually, you're also going to have to watch Secret Invasion. Oh, you know what? And you're actually going to also have to watch. You're never going to get someone to watch your movie then, because if you're having to do homework, they are not going to want. They're going to say, you know what? No,
like
I'm
homework.
good. Screw it.
It feels
it is homework. Yeah. Absolutely.
When it's not something that's like super appealing to you, having a massive impact on something that does, like,
It's like reading tie-ins to a big event, that's going on in the comics, and you see a certain name attached to our character, and it's like, oh, do I really have to read this shit to understand what's going on in Final Crisis or Dark Infinite Crisis, the Multiverse, the Secret House of M? I don't want to know.
I just don't understand their penchant for like rushing the buzzword of the moment storylines when they could have first mined the most classic storylines that have just as much brand recognition long term because of how long they've been propagated. And if I were a capitalist, I would sit here and I would go, how do I distill this for the purposes of longevity? And it just seems incredibly short-sighted to me. And it's just sort of a perpetual rewriting of everything to the point that nothing really resembles the thing. Like somebody said, it was a CBR article, and it said, Secret Invasion is the best show about the blip. And I was like, and that's why I'm not going to freaking watch it, because the blip is the first fucking stupid, well, besides a lot of what Captain Marvel, did with her origin, but like the first really stupid idea of the friggin' phase, whatever the fuck Kevin Feige wants to call it, was him doing that blip thing, because it's the thing that it's the crack down the middle of the iceberg, and now the two pieces are separating from each other. It's what it was emulating and what it is now. And what it is now is just getting further and further and further away from what is emulating, to the point where people like us are going, oh, fuck this thing.
Mm-hmm.
By putting a 5-year gap into Endgame and then creating the situation of the blip where you had people come back 5 years later, you have to be willing to deal with that if you're going to do it. But it's obvious that they don't really want to deal with it. They kind of want to make references to it and then just but kind of gloss over. And then, of course, they had to change the plot line for Falcon and the Winter Soldier because it was about a pandemic. And of course, that's what we had. So, they had to rejigger it. So the Flag Smashers, and they're upset because, they got homes while, people were gone. But now when the people came back, now everybody's trying to figure out. And that's how we got that brilliant scene that Josh quoted earlier. You've got to do better, Senator. You've got to step up. Oh, how do we do that? I don't know. Step up.
You figure it out. I don't have any solutions.
You know what, man? That didn't even hit me as like the oddest thing, because I was still reeling at that point from him carrying the freaking bad guy like an angel. Oh, the bad guy who's clearly a bad guy. And he leaves bleeding, lying on the ground. The freaking the blonde chick,
Carter,
who we don't know is a bad guy at this point. We, as far as the audience is concerned, at that moment, that's like a good friend of ours bleeding, and he's like, "Oh no, the poor baby."
Well, they love that actress. She's been in Star Wars. She's been in Marvel. She had a lead role in Willow. And just a plank of wood. Yeah,
young Maya
Rudolph. That's funny. He does look cool.
I was gonna say, I have a few super chats real quick, but I was gonna on the topic of the blip. I don't think Disney Marvel wants to address it because they think that the audience is dumber than we actually are. I think when they first announced it and they had it brought into the stories, I think they probably just said, we can't answer this stuff and we aren't willing to, but the audience they don't care, but we do, and that's the big thing, is like, we do want these questions answered, and we are going to ask those questions. And I don't think Disney Marvel was ready to answer
especially
those, or
if you keep referencing it. If you had just skipped past it and not really addressed it at all, it would have been a lot easier to stomach than making it a comedy bit in the Spider-Man movie, and then making it the central focus of the terrible Falcon and Winter Soldier show.
It's just a problem, the darn blip. It just never should have been. It just creates problems, unless it was something like, for them to address it and address it properly. There's consequences to all these things. The reason why the Marvel Universe and the DC Universe are what they are is because the stories have built off of each other over time. And over time, sometimes the things are recontextualized so that they have more meaning than maybe they even did at the time. Like, say Hal Jordan at the time being being really pretty evil for his character, but then it being revealed later on that he was possessed. Things like that to repurpose these stories, but generally speaking, it's one thing building on the other thing, and if you don't do it like that, it loses the appeal. We're all advocates for this stuff on the big screen, and to see a great TV show like this stuff because we know what it can be. And at its best, it's this building story that doesn't just skip ahead for no good reason, but continues to build and build and build and build. You know, the never-ending battle, so to speak.
And I think that's why why I brought up that tweet earlier of people kind of defending bad art, lazy art, uncreative, kind of, you know, whatever you would call it. I brought that up because so many people are saying, oh, well, you guys just have high expectations. Well, the expectations have been set by the production studios themselves. They've said, we're going to release Avengers. We're
so I
going to
should
release
go in
Captain
expecting
America.
a shit movie, and I'm excited when I don't get a shit movie. It's like I don't get that. I'm giving them my money. I need to be impressed. I should be going there saying, impress me right now.
If you are a restaurant and you have a quality, we're learning this in one of our business classes in operations and supply chain management. One of the first things you do as an operations manager is you come in and you go, what is our statement to our customers in terms of our quality? What are we offering them? Are we offering 100% quality, 99.999% quality? What is it that we're offering to our customers? And if Disney Marvel, is offering a certain level of quality and then doesn't meet that, then that's not the fans, you know, complaining and being a bunch of man babies. That's us expecting a level of quality that they have given us prior. So I don't think that's too much to ask.
Yeah, the bar is already set. So like,
right,
there's the bar, and they keep going into this like, well, I don't know, you never know what you're gonna get. Movie business is what? Wait, it was right there. Why didn't you just aim for that?
Yeah.
My counter to that argument would be, why do you allow yourself to have such low expectations? Why do you allow yourself just to be a clapping seal and be like the Red Letter Media meme of, you know, just consume product, don't ask questions, and then get excited for next product? Like, why are you that way? And I'll tell you why it is. It's because these stands that just, you see them now. Granted, the influencers are the influencers. They're the ones who, they want to keep getting that access. So of course they're going to take a picture in front of the, the poster and be like, sweet thanks access. So much for Disney Marvel having me out. Oh man, Secret Invasion is the best thing I've ever seen. I can't wait for you guys to see it. And it's like, you are a liar. Stop it. I don't believe you. Nothing you say means anything. But then, on the other hand, you have the people who just like, this is like their religion. And it's because this fandom has become their personality. They don't have anything else that they feel makes them compelling and interesting. So they have to defend this to the death.
Can I say a lot of that fandom too, they're high-functioning Asperger's, ADHD sufferers. and this is not a rejection. I am somebody who deals with this myself, and they... Sometimes, we're like kind of people pleasers and we're sweet people. So sometimes we'll just kind of lean into the thing and we believe the first thing we hear because we're really super innocent. And I really you kind of have to acknowledge that there's a super innocence and naivety that's going on a lot of times here.
Of course,
with a lot of the fandom. And I always try to talk about this stuff really carefully because I want us to come back together. And there's a lot of people who are just sort of parroting. Like there's a family member, let's say, in a group of siblings who's related to me, he's the most lovable guy in the universe, but he's an idiot, and he follows the petty people. So the petty people do petty things, and they're like, we're gonna be petty, and he goes, yeah, me too, Mom. Look at what he said, and they end up putting themselves in the crosshairs in these stupid arguments that they shouldn't have been in the first place, and because they assumed that this was. Well, I thought he was right.
Jesse, I didn't know you were related to Mark Brooks.
Yeah. I'm friends with Mark Brooks. Mark Brooks is a sweetheart guy. I know that Mark has really been damning himself in some ways amongst neutral media, but his heart's in the right place, as so many of these people's hearts are in the right place. There's a misalignment in just what's happening. And my girlfriend.
Well, social media makes you want dopamine hits. And you know, the more you're on social media, you've got to get that those sweet pats on the back. And I saw somebody the other day, like he was attacking the Ripperverse, and then it turned out that you know, the very thing that he was accusing Eric July of, people start popping in and going, well, I entered an art contest you did, fan art contest you did 17 years ago, and I never got my prizes. And it's always that projection, but it's you know, sitting alone at home, you know, a lot of these artists and things like that, they're working by themselves. They're not getting a lot of attention. And what gets you attention? You get attention by going out on the internet and attacking a big target. And that's been Mark for like that.
I think he's more a victim of what I would call the antagonizing algorithms. The algorithms put us in rooms on these social media websites where literally people who we would not start fireworks with, they're not included in our rooms. We never will see them. We're included in these rooms with opposing forces. And the opposing forces see all of each other's shit. And they constantly feel basically they're getting gaslit by the algorithms. So you see a meme about something about anti-Trump or pro-Trump, and it reminds you of the conversation that you just had with your friend, and now you're triggered, and you feel like that meme that this other guy posted because of his friend who he was triggered by is actually about you, and then you're posting stuff, and then people are fighting with you about. Everybody's just taking shit really personally.
Except that doesn't remotely apply here, because there is no algorithm, because he had Eric July blocked. He unblocked Eric July to attack him on running a fan art contest. And then anybody who seemed to disagree with him, including somebody who posted in favor of him, he blocks because, you know, for all the tough guy on the internet, he's thin-skinned. He went out looking for trouble. I know he's your friend, but he went out looking for trouble, and he got it.
Thinks Eric July is Hitler. And I know that Eric July is nothing even remotely close on any level, and it's the most ridiculous idea.
So at what point do we hold? At what point do we stop giving people the benefit of the doubt and hold them responsible for their actions? That's what I'm saying.
I'm trying to hold the doors open for people to come around to their own stupidity on their own.
But if they don't realize they're ever being stupid, you know, how do we get there?
You kind of have to go, you know, like it's like when you see a lost puppy and you go, come here. Well, I'll take you to the show. I'll take you home with me. You know what I mean? And you kind of have to, I don't know. It's something that I will agree with you on. You said that within the nerd community, there are a lot of people who find echo chambers on both sides, and they go, oh man, this is exactly what I want to hear, and this is what my personality now, or this side is my personality now. And you know, maybe it's Asperger's, maybe it's autism, maybe they're just socially awkward. We love all those people that want to be involved in this, and they are in this hobby. They're in every hobby, right? But I was going to say that we want to try and be kind of a good steward and say, regardless of all the noise and all the just ridiculousness on Twitter, this is what we want to speak, and what we want to speak is truth, and we want to try and help those individuals come to their own understanding. And sometimes we have to do that with some tough love, or maybe with some kind of like, hey, you guys got to wake up to this stuff, because these guys are directly attacking this person or whatnot. And so it's tough to help out without being gaslit, or without being seen as a Nazi or a racist or a bigot or whatever it is that they want to say. So, but yeah, it is, Aaron.
Living in a gaslit world. That's where we are.
I will say, Aaron, too. Yeah, the only reason why I didn't put that Mark Brooks topic on our live stream is because I knew that he would just love more attention, and we don't.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Is it's like, you know, at some point you've got to stop giving people air. It's like, look, everybody gets all upset every time Heather Antos says something dumb on social media, and it's like, if you just ignore it, and you don't make a big deal out of it every single time, it's not going to get the dopamine hits that she wants. She's going to move on to something else. You know, it's like she might actually have to start, you know, thinking critically, and maybe like think about some other things, and not just trying to go out there and bait people, because that's a lot of what it is. It's baiting people so that you get the attention from the other side that goes, oh no, you know, we have to protect you. You know, it's I
see, Heather Antos is a different one. She's definitely playing a little game called I Ate the Canary and Fuck You. Mark is playing a game called I don't know what's happening. Society's falling apart. Holy shit! Like, that's what's happening to Mark, and like, I wish I I wish I felt like I could go to him and tell him something that would make him.
It's just got to get out of the house. You just got to get off social media and get out of the house and talk to real people.
He's believing the hype, and this is what so many people are doing. Like this is Into the Spider-Verse just went from number fucking 3 or 4 back to number 1 in week 3. The black and female-led film is around the fucking world. It's going to be one of the biggest animated films of all time, in the top 5 at least, and in the top freaking 20 or 30 for all-time grossing films of all time. That's how fucking sexist and racist, not just America, the whole world is. This whole world is so damn sexist and racist that this movie's about to make $1 billion quickly.
I still hold the first one, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, as one of my favorite superhero films of all time. And I know that people say, "Oh, it's overrated," or like the animation is weird. I truly, it holds this very, very special place to me.
Yeah, I don't think it's overrated. I actually like it better than the second one.
Way better.
Mm-hmm. I think it's more concise, and I think that they kind of triple down on some of the stylistic things that almost become visually too much in the second one. But it's still a film that I would say that, if you like superheroes, go and check out, and have a good time. But yeah, that first one I think is absolutely fantastic, and it really destroyed the narrative of The Little Mermaid that they were trying to, it's obviously racism that nobody wants to see this movie. And the next week is another film that has a black lead and just blows the doors off of everything. It's like that. I've never seen a narrative destroyed so quickly. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
So wild. Ravul Arvita has been extremely kind this stream. Dude, thank you so much. For $5, he says, My Hero Academia and One Punch Man are superior superhero stories that current stories by DC and Marvel. And Ravul Arvita, I have only watched a little bit of My Hero Academia and One Punch Man, but I can say I really enjoy what I've seen so far. You'll have to let me know in the chat what you think about the live action. What's up?
I said my son loves My Hero Academia. Like that's his favorite.
There you go. And even Perch has made videos about how the overarching themes of My Hero Academia is very much just like, I just want to become a superhero, and I want to help the innocent. And I want to help those who can't help themselves, and I want to have superpowers and stuff. And it's like, that's a very wholesome and innocent and very broad theme, which I think is great.
Yeah, I didn't like it at first. The first couple episodes, I hated Deku.
Oh.
I hated
really?
him. Yeah, I liked the show. I was liking the show, but I hated Deku because I was like, God, he's just a whiny little, just the typical whiny little protagonist. And then I forgot, as it got further into the show and I started to like him, I was like, oh, that's right. I've been reading modern American comics so long. I forgot what an arc is. I forgot that characters are supposed to have an arc, and ended up really liking him and really loving My Hero. I haven't seen any of One Punch Man, but I do think that
a little One Punch Man, like maybe the first 6 episodes, but it's kind of epic, like really really super cool. I need to give it my attention soon.
Sorry, yeah, I read One Punch Man as One Piece. My apologies, because I asked you about let me know about that live action One Piece, which I don't know about that. But when
the comic One Piece is about to become the best-selling comic property of all time, surpassing both Superman and Batman.
I believe it, man. It is very, very good. Ravul Arvita again for $10, dude. Thank you. He says, the Super Dimension Fortress Macross, Do You Remember Love? Is one of the greatest stories ever told in a movie. It was amazing storytelling, character development, and animation. Wow, that is quite the title. I've never heard of that before, brother, but thank you for the recommendation, because now I really have to go check that out, especially if you hold it to be one of the greatest stories ever told in a movie.
Yeah, like Highlander, greatest movie ever made. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You know what, Drew? I like Ninja Scroll. That is my answer to your statement.
And then real quick, these were just some of the things I picked up on through the chat. Copa says, no, Disney Marvel didn't have an answer to the blip before they skirted around it. It's bad writing. I agree that it's bad writing. I also agree, or I agree that it's bad writing, and I also think that, I think they can be they can be mutually exclusive. What's the term I'm looking for?
They're not mutually exclusive.
They're not mutually exclusive. That it can be bad writing, and that they also wanted to skirt around it because they didn't want to address the fans. You know what I mean? So, Common America, I've got my omnibus behind me. Great book. Thank you, Cartoons and Comics. This was a great question that I would love to ask the panel. So thank you, Outlaw the God. He says, in your opinion, how should DC move forward? What character would you focus on? Josh, you kind of alluded to this earlier, which was fucking slash the budget, right? And that's just one thing. But what else? I'll go around. I'll start with Josh and then move Jesse, Aaron, and Drew. What do you guys think? What should DC do to move forward, and what character should they focus on next?
I don't even think it really matters what character you focus on first. I think it needs to. You just need to focus on character. That was DC's problem from the beginning, is they tried to rush their launch because you had Man of Steel, and you can say what you want to about Man of Steel. And Snyder's original plan for the follow-up was not BVS. And Warner wanted BVS, and they just tried to fast-track it. So whoever you pick, fine, but focus on the character to tell their story for their film. And then you'll naturally build a foundation to build upon.
Okay. I don't know if Jesse maybe had to dip out for a second, or are you still there, brother?
I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, what do you think? What do you think DC should do to move forward, and what character do you think you'd focus on?
So, what they got to do is they need to reset simply by going right into the middle of things. They need to do a proper Batman, the Long Halloween film, put him straight into the center of his mythology. Then do a proper Superman film with Brainiac, put him straight into his mythology. He is in a world, it exists. The status quos are the status quos. And they need to start telling stories from that place, where these things are developing, but there is Robin, there is a couple little pieces of backstory. The villains are already on the board. It's possible for them to come out, and they need to use the comic books as a basic guide point for their continuity, simply to put all of the things in the same continuity by using some of the continuity that's there as is, and some of the details can change from there. And then they need to start telling their classic stories in as much of or close to an order as is similar to what the audience's experience was, and not jump all crazy up to Damian Wayne and blast forward into the future when we would love to see the introduction of we'd love to see the introduction of the Red Hood. We'd love to see Robin become Nightwing. We'd love to see Red Hood get killed. We'd love to see Tim Drake come and fix Batman's problems, turn his frown upside down. We'd like to see Tim Drake find his girlfriend, Spoiler. We'd like to see Nightwing fall in love with Starfire, fall in love with Barbara Gordon. These are character dynamics that are there, and everybody is super enamored with them. And all you have to do is set the things up in the way so that they can start to be that thing, the way we like it. They came so close in the initial offerings with Marvel's Cinematic Universe, and then it just flew off the rails when Kevin Feige got rid of the creative consortium and started making decisions on his own. And now they clearly just don't care about the stories that we want to see told. And they need to get to telling the stories we want to tell, and that's not starting with their origins. It's time to just sort of get into the fucking middle of it and start satisfying the audience.
I disagree about the creative consortium, because I think Marvel Phase 3 was the best phase, and they didn't have the Marvel consortium, and they didn't. They didn't have anything to do with Black Panther. Kiss my butt, Josh. But they absolutely did. That movie was planned for ages. These were sequels to films that they set up.
They knew what they were doing when they made the first film in the first place. So you can't say any of that because it's not until like 10 years later that you start to get Kevin Feige doing whatever the fuck Kevin Feige wants to do.
Wait, Feige? I don't know who Kevin Feige is.
I think he's combining Paul Feig and Kevin Feige into one director, into one guy.
I have decided that I have no respect for that man whatsoever because he decided to take creative credit for everything, and he has proven that if it was his alone bullshit, he is not the creative genius that he was claiming to be, which means he is taking all that credit from Joe Quesada. He's taking all that credit from Jeff Loeb and Brian Michael Bendis and Craig Kyle and all these fucking geniuses. These are people who I worship in comics. Craig Kyle is a brilliant writer. Joe Quesada is a brilliant writer, brilliant creative director, brilliant artist. Jeff Loeb is a brilliant writer. These are brilliant fucking people. And Kevin Feige's like, it's me. Bullshit. Fuck that guy.
To be fair, he's never said it was him. They've been hold it. Let me get it. Let me get my point out.
I was gonna say let him cook.
Let them fight from Godzilla.
They have been extremely upfront in interviews that the people who shaped out the entire Infinity Gauntlet or Infinity Saga was mainly the director for Iron Man.
Favreau.
Favreau. So Favreau came in, started laying groundwork. They brought Joss Whedon in. Joss Whedon mapped everything out into the Infinity War in the two films. And then you had Marcus and McFeely come in and they reshaped the end. The Marvel Council didn't want Tony Stark in freaking Civil War. They didn't want a Black Panther film. They didn't want a Captain Marvel film, which, debatable. Like, hey, probably not a bad idea.
But stop clock is right twice a day.
They had a lot of terrible takes, and they were as much of a hindrance as they were a help. So Josh, the people that got the creative thing going for the good Marvel phase was not necessarily them, but it was other people that are good creatives that they probably should have kept around. That's what I'm saying. And I think part of the problem we're seeing now is you have to have a plan. In general, you need to have a plan. You've got to make your plan. You got to stick with your plan. And you had Marvel come in, and they had a plan for after Endgame. And then the moment they hit COVID and they hit the Fox acquisitions, they changed their plan. And then they got so hyped with freaking Jonathan Majors, they changed their plan again mid-plan. So within a year and a half's time, they changed their plan 3 times. Now that I will 100% put on Kevin Feige.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Josh knows more about the back, all the backstory of the movies and the different relationships there than I do.
I'm hating Kevin Feige, Aaron. Stop it.
No, I've said more than once that I think that he's been exposed as an emperor with no clothes, without being able to stand on the shoulders of giants, and that includes the people that Josh mentioned. It includes the Russo brothers who made those movies work through their direction. When I was watching the trailer for Extraction and there's that scene of Chris Hemsworth fighting his way through the prison yard, I was like, I am so hyped for this. If this wasn't a Captain America movie, where he's fighting his way through, or even if it was in a Thor movie where he's fighting his way through some really powerful, characters, but with that kind of those kind of shots and that kind of action, man, how great would this be? And how stupid is it that Marvel let these guys get away and said, no, we'll just, we'll hire a bunch of documentarians, based on their demographic traits, and we'll get some writers for Rick and Morty because, Kevin Feige thinks that Rick and Morty is the most clever thing he's ever seen, and we'll just let them go through and make fun of all this shit. Whose idea was it to hand the Gore the God Butcher story to Taika Waititi?
Oh, dude, don't
Whose idea was that? And I love Taika on his own stuff. Don't get me wrong, Hunt for the Wilder People's great. I am a huge fan of What We Do in the Shadows. He's done some great stuff, but he doesn't care about this stuff. And he came in and he took one of the most serious and heavy stories that you could have had that could have been really beautiful and could have really informed Thor's character.
In the Marvel universe, he came in and he took one of the most serious shits in the Marvel. That's what I thought you were saying.
I think he took a comedic shit in a place where a serious shit was supposed to be taken.
Yeah. A funny shit, I guess.
This is kind of off topic. I did find out something very interesting the other day about Love and Thunder, and for Zeus, they filmed every scene twice. They filmed him with a Greek accent, and they filmed him basically him portraying his character from Gladiator.
Oh,
and
interesting.
And Marvel went with comedic Greek. Let me prance down the
really.
Yeah.
I saw a scene the other day that's him and Thor walking through a field, and him talking about how you need to go to eternity, and he's like Thor's like, won't you join us? And he's like, well, I can't, because to go there you need to be pure, and Zeus is many things, but he is not pure. And it was like, and just the scene was shot with a seriousness, and I was like, man, I want to see this movie. This is the movie that I want to see. I don't want to see, I will never watch Thor: Love and Thunder again. And I had to watch it again to review it with Wes. So Wes continues to punish me for no reason. But
there's a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor apparently with that movie. Like do you know, Josh? Like hours, right?
Yeah. So between I think Taika Waititi originally had almost a 4-hour cut of a film because of the two stories they pulled together, and then with the reshoots, they brought in more humor. It seemed like I don't think he's the most balanced creator. It seemed like his Love and Thunder was more in line with Ragnarok, because Ragnarok had some moments that were good moments, and they cut it too short. But I would have taken.
They made the destruction a joke at the very end. It was a punchline. Yeah. That was a joke, and I hated that.
That's what it is. They made his entire heaven, his home, home world, his people that were destroyed, a laughingstock. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, they killed off the Warriors 3 and just like nothing, and never addressed it. They've still never addressed it.
Nope. Yep. Pissed me off so bad.
But if you want to steer back to on topic,
I was going to say, if you want to, because you were already talking. So if you want to go into the DC question, go for it.
Yeah. So, I think that I agree with what Jesse said as far as like Batman. I think that the Long Halloween is just a perfect place to start a Batman universe. With all the villains already established. At this point, you've had so many stops and starts on these universes that you have to again go back and have to do an origin story for everybody. You're going to get diminishing returns. People are tired of it. It's why they're like, it's why, with the Tom Holland movies, they were kind of like, let's not do the Uncle Ben thing again, is because, we get it. You've had a couple times at bat. And if I got to see those pearls falling on the ground again in a Batman movie, I'm going to lose my mind. It's like, how many times can the Waynes be shot on film?
Which, by the way, I still think that the best depiction of that death was in the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. I still think it's so heartbreaking. But sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So I think that's where you start there. I think that where they really screwed up is if you wanted to start a DC universe, you had the perfect roadmap already with Paul Dini's animated universe, and that went into Dwayne McDuffie's Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. Yeah. All you had to do was follow that template. And I don't know, here's a crazy idea. You need your own Kevin Feige to oversee all this? Maybe call Paul Dini, the guy who already gave you the roadmap, and have him do it. But you know what? He's an animation guy. We can't do that. We have to bring in our own film people who don't care.
That they disrespect the animation people like that. That has always struck me so weird, because you hear that all the time, that the film business people wouldn't respect like a Brad Bird and Andrew Stanton. Like, to me, these are some of the most brilliant creative people of all time, Brad Bird, Andrew Stanton, and there's like reluctance to give them an animated thing. And somebody was talking about Dave Filoni recently about, he's an animation guy. I think Dave Filoni's done a lot of good work. It would be fair enough to give him a film to try something. He's done enough good work that he would deserve an opportunity more so than some of these people that they're putting up for the friggin' task.
I say you give him a film and you tell him you can't use Ahsoka. That's what I would do.
Maybe. That might be a good idea.
Well, just kind of go on what Jesse's talking about. Look at Lord Miller right now. They did the Lego movie, which was great. They did hit Into the Spider-Verse, which was great. They did Across the Spider-Verse, which I think many of us were like, this isn't going to live up to it. You shouldn't do it. And they did a damn good job of almost meeting that same level. And they people will not hire them for live action because they're animated people. I'm like, their track record right now is so much better than anyone else's that's writing freaking films. Hire them. Like, if I were running DC, I'd be like, look, I know you guys have been doing Marvel stuff, but you did Lego and you did Lego Batman, and we want you to come do something for us.
And I know Tomorrowland flopped. I know that flopped, but you can't say that it flopped on the basis of the direction. The direction in that movie is great.
He did a good Mission Impossible film with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, and
Mission Impossible movie. That was a great movie.
You give Brad Bird Superman? Come on. Brad Bird could do a hell of a Superman movie. He already did. It was called The Iron Giant.
Andrew's
he
got so much shit because that movie bombed. I think a lot of why that movie bombed is because Taylor Hitch just isn't quite a movie star. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things. They changed the title, so they lost all their brand recognition. Nobody knew what the fuck it was, especially because John Carter from Mars tells you a little bit of something, and John Carter didn't tell you shit. But that movie's actually really good and beautiful and well shot and handled really well. And
John Carter sounds like you're going into a divorce drama starring Denzel Washington. It's like and the dumbest of reasons, because a couple of movies with Mars in the titles didn't do well. They were like, well, obviously audiences don't like Mars. Obviously audiences don't like shitty movies. And John Carter was not a shitty movie. It was fantastic. Maybe a little long, but fantastic.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic too. I mean, like The Lone Ranger came out at that time as well, and I think that movie's fucking awesome as well. It seemed to be part of like a couple movies that imploded at the time, even though they were very good.
I will say you had mentioned the animated films, and I still to this day will say that the DC animated films are better than any DC film that has come out within the past decade or two.
Yeah, with the exception of a few, I will agree with you on that.
I think their animated stuff is perfection. Like I truly think that I'll watch some of those animated films and I go, there's nothing that I would try and improve or change or do anything here.
Well, go back and watch Batman Hush.
That is not good.
Yeah, but I'm talking like Justice League Unlimited and stuff like that.
Justice League Unlimited. That's rewatchable. Do you find any of the other direct to things? Do you rewatch them?
Yes, Batman Year One. I rewatch a lot. I love Batman Year One. And
I didn't watch Year One, but none of the ones that I've ever watched, I'm like, I finish it and I go, that's all right, but I'll never watch it again. But some of the Marvel ones, they had some good ones coming for a minute. The Wolverine, the Hulk versus.
Oh yeah,
with Wolverine and Thor. That's
interesting.
Awesome. There was a couple really fucking good ones they made, and then it seemed to just disappear.
I watch Assault on Arkham over and over again.
That was
I really like that one. Yeah, I love Nolan North as the Joker. I think he's a better Joker than Mark Hamill. Even though he's doing Mark Hamill, I just think he makes better choices on where to place his inflection and things like that. And I know it's coming, but I still laugh every time Joker comes to the room and goes, "Como sta, bitches?" For some reason it always makes me laugh because it's just such a weird random thing for the Joker to say.
Is it Suicide Arkham Assault on Suicide?
Yeah, Suicide Squad Assault on Arkham. It's set in the Arkham video game universe.
Yeah.
I really like the. Oh, go ahead, Josh.
I was gonna say I think the New 52 films are terrible.
Well, they're based on the New 52, so what are you gonna do?
But even then, it's like they took 3 or 4 comics from the New 52 and then cut the best stuff out of the comics and then mashed it together to be like, look at this.
And then they did Death of Superman, but in the New 52, it doesn't work.
Yeah. I do like I like the Under the Red Hood one that they did. I don't know if,
that was good.
You guys, so I mean, there are ones that really stick. They just stick the stick the landing.
I am flying across. If I'm flying somewhere that's like an hour and a half, I'm going to put on Batman Year One because it is so fun. It is so fast paced, so kinetic. You forget just how quick that story is, especially if you're reading it or watching it. Yeah.
I was never a huge Batman Year One fan. I think probably just because it was built up so much by the time I read it, because it's considered one of the greatest stories that has ever been written. And so by the time I read it, I was like, I prefer Batman when there's all those bad guys out in the universe, and him just as a guy figuring it out didn't excite me.
Do we have an eject button on the show? That deserves an eject.
Right.
I'm joking.
No, I'm kidding.
I got another one. I also love the movie Hudson Hawk.
That's fair. I hated it when I saw it in theaters, and then later I watched it with a friend on DVD, and it became one of my favorite movies. Yeah. I think I just went in and I was like, what the hell is this? I wasn't ready for what it was. And by the time I went back to it, I just kind of enjoyed it for what it is. And it is a very fun movie.
I'm excited to watch the recommendations. So Batman Year One and Suicide Squad Assault on Arkham. Do you have a favorite, Josh, from any of those that you've seen?
I mean, I'll agree with Max. I think Under the Red Hood is fantastic, and I think more people need to see it. But
even though Bender's the Joker, it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And before Drew kind of answers this question, both you guys mentioned the Long Halloween, and I want to remind you that's essentially what they're doing in the Batman, and then they're not including the Batman into this new DC universe.
Well, good, because I didn't like the Batman. I thought the Batman was slow and boring, and I thought that thought that Paul Dano was terrible. So
yeah, I agree. And that's what they're doing in the Batman. That first movie is not what they're doing in the Batman. This is an origin story of what they're doing in the Batman. Another origin story. Another Batman Begins, which is my least favorite Batman story. And now here's Batman Begins #2, and it's so slow that. I feel like nothing's there. Nothing's on. The whole bit of Batman being awesome is that he's in this world of fucking chaos. And when there's just a little bit of chaos, it just is not close to as fun.
But my point is that's what they're doing with the Batman is what they have coming up is you've got the Penguin show and you're going to have an Arkham show. And it's heavily based on the Long Halloween.
See, but
they've already kind of ruined it for me.
I'm just saying, they're not gonna do it for the DCU.
The way they want to make it. I want it the way they want it. Stop making it the way they want to fucking make it, and make it the way we want it.
Yeah, I don't want Matt Reeves' version of it, which is what if it was also 7?
Oh yeah, but that's the thing is that's what they're saying to us though, because they're saying. I don't want to make it how they want to make it. I want to make it how we want to make it. So they're saying the exact opposite of what we're saying, right? So it's the two. It's this all over again, and that's why I think
they want my money,
right? And you would think that in a good someone with good business sense would say, we should probably listen to our shareholders and our customers, but they don't want to do that.
And this comes to what I was going to say real quick.
Go ahead.
Everything going on with Warner's. I was rewatching the Death of Superman Lives What Happened documentary, and they get to a point, they showed that Warner's had this string of bombs in the late 90s, just a string of them. And they decided just to cancel the Superman film. They didn't want to risk it. So Warner's, they've had a string of bombs right now, and it's like, how much financially they're going to be invested in these films coming up? You may want to say like, hey, you know what? That $200 million budget, we're gonna make that 100 now. Just I can see some of these projects being nixed, or the budgets are going to be severely decreased.
And the problem is they're looking down that barrel. They're looking down that barrel of bombs. Blue Beetle's going to bomb. Aquaman 2 is going to bomb. And then what? And then you're coming into the gate for now James Gunn's going to do Superman. You're still going to have that stink. The stink of like, oh no, that's a DC movie. DC movies suck with the general populace. So, you've really they got to have a marketing campaign in mind. They got to, and the question is, can James Gunn pull off a Superman film? I think James Gunn's very talented. I enjoy his films, but there's nothing of his sensibility that I've ever seen aside from the fact that he can get, some really heartfelt character moments. But, aside from that, his sense of humor, everything else about him feels incompatible with the character of Superman. And to me, that's the same problem.
Space.
Yeah, well, yeah, unless you got like a bunch of weird stuff going on in space, but yeah, it's like if you should have gotten Brad Bird, you should have gotten Paul Dini in here to do this. Even you could have gotten Greg Weisman. The guy's already working on DC stuff. You could have got him in there, to help kind of like plan these things out.
Can I say honestly, what I would have done if I was James Gunn, or rather I should say, if I was Peter Safran working with James Gunn, going, hey, this is what we're going to do, James. We're going to start to flesh out the Justice League Dark. We're going to continue to build on Keanu Reeves in a second Constantine movie that at the end ties him into the DC universe. We're going to introduce Entrican the Demon and, maybe Zatanna, with Entrican as a bad guy, something like that. Have a few solo movies for some of these characters, Swamp Thing being the center of all that shit. And then bring them all together for a Justice League Dark with your Detective Chimp and all these great little the Guardians of the Galaxy of the DC universe. Give everybody a breath, a moment to kind of rest on some of these main characters, and then flash forward a little bit and do just a soft reboot of things and pretend like there'll be some inconsistencies with some of the movies, but you'll be glad we made these changes.
Well, let me hear real quick because Drew, I know you haven't gotten a chance to answer this question, and then we'll move to another super chat. But yeah, I don't know, man, because DC, I feel like Warner Brothers and DC have had their fair share of their Guardians of the Galaxy with the Suicide Squad, well, 2 Suicide Squad movies.
And the JSA. They had a chance to do the JSA in the Black Adam movie. That didn't work out.
JSA, and it's just kind of like, I feel like they should stray far away from B and C characters and go right back to A. But this is my term. This is Drew.
A lot of audience confusion, though, is why I think that it might not be a terrible idea to lean into the horror side of DC, because that is a strength.
Confusion is the word. I guarantee you, because they have the Matt Reeves Batman stuff going on, and they're introducing a new Batman in this universe. You think people won't be confused? I'm going to be fucking confused.
yeah, right, dude. Yeah, that's a good point. Hey, Steph, thanks for being here.
Hey, Steph.
But yeah, Drew. So yeah, what do you think, brother? Where do you think DC needs to make their next decision, and what character do they need to focus on next? And then we'll get to some super chats.
I mean, focusing on quality Superman, I would say nix anything Tom King has to do with these films. Nix his Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Booster Gold, that's Booster Gold. I would make that. We'll see where you are 2-3 years from now. Then we'll maybe give you $50 million for that one to do. But just right now, you got to focus on a good Superman and Batman.
All of the announcements are so weird that they made.
Yeah, you're starting off with Creature Commandos. Are you serious?
That was already in the works. Come on.
Yeah, but still, Aaron, they should have announced that just by itself, and then waited a fucking 3 months. And then they should have. And honestly, honestly, Jesus Christ!
I love when someone gets so. I love when someone gets so worked up that they just go. You know, like when I've done that before on streams where I'll get so upset or my mind will get so frustrated that I'll just go, you know what? I have no words to express my annoyance.
It's like an image Josh sent from that show, the Jury Duty, that I can't even. You know,
I can't even. Yeah, when you literally can't even. That is the perfect.
No, it's the moment when you're just talking so much sense, and then you just do the Mugatu, and you go, "I feel like I'm taking crazy pills." Like, how does no one else see this? How does no one else understand what is right there?
Well, because you're saying things that seem like common sense, right? You're saying things that like. We're gonna make a good Superman film to bring in more people, and you're like, yes, yeah, of course, like yeah, like that's what that's what we have to do. Woad Warrior for $20, dude. Woad, thank you so much. That is very kind of you. You know that this is just gonna go to my plastic crack Warhammer addiction. Come on, brother, you're feeding my addiction. He says, Max, thanks for the retweet. I am currently terrible, but on the road to less terrible. Keeping it up the track to my progress. On the road next week, but planning for a fun Vidya on returning. The Emperor protects. Godspeed. The Emperor protects. Thank you, brother. And yes, no, I don't think that your content is terrible at all. Believe me. I have seen worse, my friend. And honestly, all of our first videos are terrible. If you watch my first video ever, which you can do right now if you go on my channel, I'm literally monotone, deadpanning, reading a script that was taped to the bottom of my iPhone. I'm reading verbatim what I said or what I typed up. It's terrible, and the lighting is like blasting into the camera, so you can't actually see me. It's hilarious. We all start somewhere, brother, and I'm just glad that you're on this platform doing what you're doing. So thank you for the $20.
Woad, let me say that. Let me say this to you, Woad. You can never be the worst person on YouTube so long as Matt Jarbo exists. So no matter what your video is, you're better than Mundane Max. So take heart.
Already, yeah.
Who's Matt Jarbo?
I'll give you a whole rundown. He's a false flagger.
Does the audience at home know?
Say again?
I said, does the audience at home know who Matt Jarbo is?
I mean, a lot of people who watch YouTube know who he is. Yeah, he's the worst.
I think he's got a long history.
Something the other day, like that, I've decided to really own. I'm innocent, and I'm just going to live that way from now on. Like, I feel like this world wants to set everyone on fire. It's like the age of like everyone's in the Salem witch trial and just like righteously judging one another. And I've decided that I'm innocent. I haven't done anything, and I'm no longer going to entertain this judgment. And I like what I like, and I'm not going to make excuses for it.
That's okay. I will take up Ronan's hammer for you, and I will be the one to unfurl 1,000 years of Creed justice.
And then I'll be Chris Pratt in the back going, "I'm dancing, you big dummy." He's like,
"What are you doing?"
Yeah. He's like, "Gamora. All right, take it back."
Is that the dance that he's going to do in his silkies, Josh? Is that what we're going to see?
You know what? Sure, why not?
Maybe. Who says I'm not wearing silkies right now? I don't know.
That's true.
We have Dylan Lindsay for $2. Thanks, Dylan. I appreciate that. Is that a little lemur as your profile? That's pretty cool.
Or is it a sugar glider?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. A sugar
That's what it is. Yeah. He says the recent animated Death of Superman movie is good. I don't know if I remember watching that one, but you guys were saying that was like the mix of the New 52 stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they mixed it into like the New 52 continuity because they were trying to do everything kind of connected.
So I actually had to review that for Batman News, and I think I gave it like an 8.5 or 9 out of 10. I agree. I think it's really, really good. So Pete Tomasi wrote that script for that movie, and he had the hardest job because I think they'd only done like one Superman movie. They hadn't established really any of the supporting characters. Lois Lane didn't know that Clark was Superman, so he's got to like deal with all this crap and then try to tell a story that emotionally resonates. And somehow he managed to do it. And I was like, I don't know how this happened, but this was actually really freaking good, way better than what Zack Snyder tried to do. And then they had different writers for the Coming of the Superman, and it was not good.
No, it was nice to see those characters on screen, but
agreed.
Yeah, but the movie was not well done.
Dude, in comic books, it's editorial who honestly largely gets in the way of stories being consistently awesome. And there are plenty of great editors, but whether they're all pissing in the same streams and screwing up each other's cornflakes, the editorial is largely dictating everything that happens until creative people get enough power. And in the world of comic books, there's a place where writers can get a little bit of power. Also, sometimes in TV, writers can get a little power, like the Gilligans of the world, on Breaking Bad and other shows. But in films, it's the producers, and they have so little respect for the writers. Like there is respect for the writers in these other mediums. There is no respect for the writers in the films, and these producers think they're brilliant. They have never read a fucking screenplay book. If they did, they didn't understand anything that was in it, and they just have no idea the ramifications of arbitrary notes that they will give to their writing people. And the writing people, for the most part, like Hollywood, just like beats you down until you literally just start showing up and doing what they want you to do, because fucking resisting and trying to get something good out of people who are just determined to fuck something up because they don't understand, like, it's not even worth it. So if you want to have a job and you want to just freaking be, and I'll hope that the next one will be better. And I mean,
Jesse, listen,
Sure.
You're going to do the Superman film, but I don't want him flying around. I don't know that Mary Poppins bullshit, and I don't want him in a costume. I don't want him wearing a costume. And have Brainiac fight a polar bear. He kills one with a laser blast, and then the other one runs off because we don't want to piss off PETA. And make sure he fights a giant spider.
Yeah,
those are my notes.
Jesse, you say you want it to be comics accurate. I did some Googling, and Superman wore jeans and a Superman T-shirt. So that's his costume here.
Yeah. And this is
he
actually
had lace sandals. I saw one where he had little little lace sandals. So we're gonna do that.
You guys are mean.
Batman needs purple gloves.
I will say, though, Jesse's absolutely right. Producers do not care. They shit on writers nonstop. And that's why you see so many writers that after they've done enough projects and they actually have some money under their belt, that they move into producer positions so they can be like, no, we're going to tell a freaking damn good story if my life depends on it. Like, because I'm sick of being tied to shit.
Sorry. Keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was gonna say in the Marine Corps, what we've seen is like you'll get a lot of enlisted guys that see just like the shit decisions being made by officers that tend to be more incompetent. And so what the enlisted guys will say is they'll go, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go to school, I'm gonna get my degree, I'm gonna go into the officer side of things, and I'm gonna make a difference from the officer, aspect, which is what I think is what you're talking about in terms of like producers going, you know what, I've seen too many decisions that have poorly been made that make awful stories. So I'm going to try and do producing and see if I can make some, a great story. If it means the end of my career or something, I want to bring a good story here. But yeah, sorry, were you going to?
Case in point of where producers are definitely like fucking things up is Kraven the Hunter. I swear to God, and I would bet, I don't even have $1 million, but I'd bet $1 million that a producer was like, what if instead of hunting animals, because that's not cool, what if instead of hunting animals, he gets powers from an animal and then he hunts poachers?
No.
That's what if make it happen. That's a blockbuster.
Wait a second. I just found this out, Josh. He's fucking hunting people who hunt.
Yes.
Yeah.
What now?
Don't want to, Jesse. We don't want to piss off PETA.
No, Jesse, but it's okay because he doesn't even have a Russian accent or anything.
He doesn't.
No,
he's
Russell. His dad does. His dad does.
Russell Crowe does for some reason. Yeah, but
producer
fuck up all the things I like.
Producer,
dude, it's Morbius. It's Morbius too. It's Morbin time, man. Come on.
It's Craven time.
I like Morbius. Okay.
Producer reading the script. Why does our good guy have a Russian accent? Because he's not the good guy. Yeah. No, the movie's about him. We need to make him the good guy. And Russia is an accent.
Russia is bad right now, according to what I saw on Twitter. So we're gonna need to go. Yeah, let's take that away from him.
Yeah, Craven could have been if they made him just evil MFer, right?
Next,
if they made him
about a Spider-Man film that could be a $50 to $75 million budget is Craven's Last Hunt. You do not need a blown out budget for Craven at all, period.
And he's so cool, and it's such a great story. And Drew, I know that's one of your favorites.
Absolutely.
That would bring people.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
good
that
taste.
would bring
That's
people in.
Mine.
Now, real quick, and we've kind of already been touching on this because we've been talking about how the producers interact with the directors and the writers and screenplays and stuff like that. And because this super chat right here from Ravul Arvita for $5, once again, dude, thank you for being so generous tonight. He says, why is it so important for DC and Marvel to completely disregard and disrespect the source material and their fans? I will say for me, and then I'll I'll do the Gamora out to you. I'll throw it to you guys. For me, I think when comics became mainstream, and the popular kids started to find out that, oh, people like this now, or like, oh, there's money in this now, they thought in their own narcissistic minds, and I don't mean to be rude, but this is how I think a lot of this comes to play is someone who says, I think I can do that better, or I know I can do that better, but this is how we're going to do it to make it better. And we know that you guys like this one, but this is how we're going to do it because I think this is going to be a better aspect of things. So in my opinion, I think it all went downhill when things got mainstream. But
my brother, testify.
Preach.
Can I just add it here? And I don't know, these are some weird.
Well, he was going to go around, Jesse.
No, yeah, it's up to you guys. I mean,
not about
anyone
that,
can.
Specifically what he was just saying. So I don't usually talk about this. I believe that we're all one. We're all equal. I believe in a world of superheroes. I want to see a better world. But because of who I was born from, my father is a celebrity. He's a rock star, D. Snyder, and I grew up with all of this sort of extra power over people that I didn't earn. It just was the way people would treat me because of this thing. And I had a very clear view of superficial culture, mainstream culture, the people who are going clubbing and here we're hanging out, the people who are interested in the Kardashians and are just doing a superficial, scan of everything. And I very specifically had a choice of either, because I was automatically in that group by virtue of superficial reality that says, oh, my father was a famous person, so therefore I have this like status, which still is given to me, which undeservingly, I'm a nice guy. I deserve to be treated nicely, but I don't deserve any sort of status because of, celebrity, but people will give it to you. And I went, I don't like this. I hate everything about this. I'm going to this place, this geek culture space, where it's about all of these artists and these craftsmen and people are respecting ideas, and it's not all this superficial stuff. The problem is that the rest of the people who make up this space of the geek culture guy, they didn't grow up like me where they were given like this free pass if they wanted to play with the popular kids. They were made to feel like they didn't get to play with the popular kids and that they were wrong and they were geeks and they were lame. So when the popular kids said, hey guys, well, you've proved yourself. Well, you can come play with us. They went, I can't. Okay. And all the nerds, all of the pillars of my fucking community that I look up to and I saw as fucking titans of an industry, they became pussies. And they went, oh, famous people in Hollywood, let me do to be a part of this Hollywood thing, because all I ever really wanted to be was one of the pretty people. And I'm sorry, man, as somebody who fucking knows, and I roll in all sorts of circles, the pretty people suck. The pretty people are fucking doing it all wrong and making each other miserable. And the people who are thinking about things and talking about things they love, we're finding common footing and we're coming closer together. And those people are just fighting over pettiness and trying to rule and take the world from each other. And we're going to inherit the fucking earth.
If you don't understand the concept that Jesse is putting out there, I suggest that you watch the Patrick Dempsey tour de force. That is the film called Can't Buy Me Love, which will illustrate his point completely.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, I think
you shit on my house, man. You shit on my house.
No, thank you as well, Jesse. And it is true, though, because it's such a great... this is why I like having all you guys on, because you all represent a different voice. And Jesse, you bring something that all of us can't... we've never experienced that. You know what I mean? We don't know what that is like to have those two worlds of, insane fame and also being more in a grounded, more like aspect of nerddom, which gets made fun of a lot, so having those two worlds that you were looking at, I mean, that's why I love y'all's takes, because it is something that other people may have not experienced.
Yeah, well, I mean, I really think people should remember too, like because it is kind of that thing that Jim Carrey said, which I thought was really great. I wish everybody could have everything that they always wanted, because they realize that that's not it. And in seeing this thing, just by virtue of the position that I'm in, it's a wonderful perspective. And please take, the advice from somebody who's been split in the middle of this thing. There's a lot of nonsense. I was explaining to my daughter the other day about all of this status sort of stuff. Do you come from money? Are you beautiful? Who do you know? What kind of car do you drive? What kind of watch do you wear? All these things. And these are things that I rejected wholeheartedly. I wear a suit every now and then for my girlfriend's sake. I hate dressing formally. I hate playing into any of these stifling notions of what value is derived from, because real value is derived from love and passion and intellect and ideas that, that are useful to everyone. So, I just really... it's not worth it. Don't play into that thing. You want real friends, not friends in high. I mean, granted, a real friend in a high place is a good thing, but you want people who actually see you, and not people who are trying to use you, and people who have not necessarily believe all the same things, but have a lot of the same core sort of treating of people who will treat you as an equal and give value to your opinion and to what you're about.
Someone who isn't afraid to tell you what you need to hear. That's what you want.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I'll say this. One of the most fun and I guess best pieces of advice that I got recently was from Mrs. Nerdrotic. I think I had put something on Twitter, or maybe we were all hanging out at one of the meetups or something. And I was like, yeah, I just feel kind of discouraged because I want to feel like I fit in, and I want to, I want people to enjoy this side of me, and I want people to enjoy my content. And I want to reach a broad audience to really talk to people and have these conversations. And but I feel like if I fit in, or if I do what they want me to do, or say what they want me to say, I'll fit in, but at what cost, And she's this punk rocker. She's always been like against the grain. She's always been a nerd. She's always been a metalhead. And she just kind of looked at me and she was like, why do you want to fit in? Why do you want to be who wants to be fit in who wants to fit in? That's lame. Go against the grain, go do something that, is not what is the norm. Right. And I thought about it and I was like, that's what nerd culture has always been. We've never really fit in except for when we're together, because look at the X-Men. Society hates them, and yet they find family in the things that matter the most in their in their own home. So I thought it was funny anecdote where it's like, people will constantly. What's up?
No, I said while you're talking X-Men, I was.
Oh yes, yeah, there you go. And so I think that so many people now are just trying to fit in. They're trying to find, and it's like, it's okay to not. You can still find your home and still not feel like you fit in with what society tells you has to fit in. Because what society is telling you to fit in is what? Red pill movement? No, screw that. What, Hollywood? You don't need to do Hollywood. Go do your own thing. So there are other avenues.
Can I just back that up, MVP, with just by saying, because everything that you're saying is like 100% on the money. And I had this terrible realization, I don't know, it might have been like 8 months ago, where I was having a whole bunch of different little problems because I was trying to get a little extra kind of job to get a little bit of extra money coming in. And there was a ton of work that essentially I couldn't go after simply because I had not jumped through some hoops when I was younger that I could have jumped through if I wanted to. But I was like, this is bullshit. I don't want to take that test. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to go get my bachelor's. I'm going to, bail out of college a little early and go to work because I've got a job offer, like things like that. And all of these shortcuts that I took were biting me in the ass. And it's not that it was a shortcuts that I took. It was that there is red tape in our society, nonsense, useless shit that they make us do. And I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to lead a life of love, doing the things that I want to do. And I'm going to demonstrate how that is the way to live your life. And I can tell that everyone around me is scared to live that way, but I'm going to be bold enough and brave enough to do it. And I found out by doing that, I had put myself into some really precarious positions. And for a second I went, oh, I'm such an idiot. And then I went, no, I was right the fucking first time. This place is freaking stupid, and I'm not going to do it the stupid way that they wanted me to do it, and I'm going to prove to them that I don't have to do it their way. I'm fucking smarter than this stupid system, and you'll like my system better.
There you go. Sorry. As I went to unmute myself, I turned my camera off. So it was like I did both things wrong. But yes, thank you.
Regale us with your beauty shot.
I mean, it is very nice. But,
I always thought it was Leonardo DiCaprio when I was first, tweeting back and forth with you. I was like, "Wow, this guy really likes DiCaprio."
If only I wish.
Initially.
Dylan Lindsay for $5. He said he is not just any sugar glider. He is Zeus, Lord of the gliders. I like that, man. How cool. He says, I think the best comics movies have good balance of creatives and editors and producers. Absolutely, man. With anything, I think there comes an equal and even balance of business and also creative decisions. Yeah, I agree with that. But thank you for sharing with us your lord of all the gliders, Zeus. That is pretty dang cool.
Let me just throw this out there because I've actually got to get going. Just in answer to the last question, the biggest thing, and someone in the chat said it, is just ego. It's the ego of these people that come in and they think that they can take it and they can make it better. And you see that with even with the Little Mermaid. Well, we can take it and we can fix the things that are problematic. And you saw that with Peter and Wendy too. We can fix the things that are problematic. The problem is they come in with these activist ideas and they don't bother to understand the story or the subtext or any of the underlying themes that are going on. So you watch Peter and Wendy and it actually destroys the story of Peter Pan. It destroys several of the ideas there, and they don't even realize that they've broken it. In Little Mermaid, there's several things that break the character motivations that they don't even realize. So, for example, she can't be in love with Eric, because that would be, she can't be in love with him. No, she has to be a strong female character, TM. So she has to not be in love with the man, but she has a statue of him, which then, like in the original animated movie, Triton comes and destroys, and then Ariel breaks down. And in the animated movie, Triton says to her, basically, I know this will make you hate me, but I have to do this for your own good. And he destroys all the human artifacts because he does not want her going to the human world, getting caught in a net and getting killed, or anything else horrible that could happen to her. So it's basically it's for your own good. And after he does it and she breaks down, she's crying over the broken statue of Eric. He's leaving, but he turns back and you see that his heart is breaking because he essentially had to do what he felt was right, which was tough love. In this new version, she's very stoic. He destroys everything, including the statue of the guy she's not in love with. And then he leaves just like an asshole. There's no remorse. There's none of that. I have to teach you this for your own good. It's just he's enraged because what else are men but, angry, rage monsters that hurt women. And so he destroys all of her stuff. And then she's stoic and he leaves. And then she breaks down because, he can't show emotion in front of him because that would be like a victory for him because he's an evil man. It breaks the relationships. And by having her save Eric at the end, instead of Eric saving her, she's already saved Eric in the movie from drowning. At the end, in the original, he saves her, and that's what softens Triton's heart and allows this, this daughter of his to go to the human world because he realizes humans aren't all bad. By making her save herself, there's no compelling reason for Triton's heart to change. And it just becomes a moment of him just well, yeah, sure, I guess. And then, they go off to start a shipping company of their own, which, at the time period this is set in the Caribbean, you should do some research on what was being shipped around the world because it is kind of problematic, but they kind of gloss over that. But, it's just one of those things. They don't understand the stories. They just come in with their agendas and they break them in fundamental ways. And that's why none of it rings true. And it's all done out of ego. Think of the G.I. Joe films. We haven't had a good G.I. Joe film. Think of that first one, Rise of Cobra. You have these iconic designs that everybody recognizes and that the fan base loves. And the costume designer comes in and goes, well, I'm going to do my own thing. And everybody looks stupid. More stupid than they would be if they were in the traditional G.I. Joe costumes.
Can I add to what you're saying, Aaron? There's a thing. So, all right. So I've learned this as a creative person, across the board, whenever I'm working with another creative person and they have an idea that they have to execute, whether it's an artist or a producer, and they say that they don't like the idea, they don't get it, they don't think it's a good note, whatever it is. Don't make them do it, because if they think it's bad, they're going to give you something that's bad. They don't believe that it's capable of being good. So if they go make something they think is bad, they're only capable of elevating the bad thing so much because they don't think it's a good idea to begin with. And that's one of the main problems with these producers. They're viewing this material as down here on the floor to start with. And they're like, well, I guess I'll make something good with it, as opposed to viewing it as already elevated, already there, and I just have to show up and make sure it turns out right, which is what they should be doing. A good producer is a good shepherd, but instead they're just, thinking it's a bad idea and they're trying to fix it.
I guess I'll take this turd that generations of people have loved for, decades, and I'll go ahead and put my spin on it, and it'll finally be good now that it has my polish. On that note, I will say goodnight to everybody. Godspeed, and see you next time.
Thank you so much for being here, brother.
What Aaron just reminded me of was the movie Free Jack. Came out in 1991 with Emilio Estevez. But they talk, if you go into the drama behind the making of it, the producer of it, the studio exec, he wanted to take control of everything. He thought he knew how everything ran. He wanted to edit the film himself, because even though he wasn't an editor. So it just ridiculous.
No. editing without being an editor, that
Yes.
would be brutal.
That's not problematic. Yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all.
If you're going to do that, but you're like, okay, so like I could see a situation like that. It's just about cooperating with the people who are actually doing the thing, because the producer needs to be hands-on and they need to be looking at every single thing and having a real idea about how one hand washes the other, about how this edit is going to the music coordinator who's going, all these different things are important. So, I mean, like, it's okay to be freaking Mr. Micromanaging. I think that's why people didn't like freaking, what's his name, John Lasseter. And they Me Too'd him with, it very seemed like just people didn't like being told what to do by a brilliant guy. And sometimes that's, the thing, we need a brilliant guy to tell us what to do. I really think that's important.
Well, before we end tonight, because I don't want to take too much of y'all's time, and I want to be respectful of that, I do want to hit our last topic of the night, which I think this to me is actually pretty big news, and I think it actually is a step in the right direction. But I want to get y'all's take on this because you are the Mind Trust, so I would love to get y'all's take. But so the article from Variety says Comic-Con crisis, Marvel, Netflix, Sony, HBO, and Universal all to skip San Diego Comic-Con as Fest faces another existential threat. And when we go over to Mark Millar, even he had something to say about this. He said, I think the studios not attending San Diego Comic-Con this year is actually a massive positive for American comics. I went twice before. The show was embraced by Hollywood circa 2000, and it was both hugely attended and a genuine buzz. A Comic-Con aimed at comic fans, again, is the ideal for me. Note, sales of American-produced comics are obviously massively down. Manga is up 79%, Marvel and DC down 6%, Indies 2%, Dogman 13%. But the 1997 San Diego Comic-Con I went to was regarded as a crisis in sales too, and where all the meetings began for the summer 2000 rebirth, this could be a good thing. So what do you think about this? Is this a good thing? Do we think that this could potentially lead to an actual Comic-Con? What are the odds, right?
Yeah. No.
It'd be nice. Because I mean San Diego now, I'm sure Josh, Jesse, you guys know the comic creators, they're all pushed to the corner, the far left corner of the convention center. It is a fucking embarrassment. These are the guys who built this place. And you have Dan Jurgens in like a little 6x6 cell. Are you kidding me right now? And it's embarrassing. They hope they do get back to these days where it really focus back on the comics. Get rid of these guys. Get rid of these studios. Bring these guys back on the main show floor. It is because of these guys that this studio, these conventions exist. And I'm done.
No, I think I heard Josh say no. Okay, you little contrarian. Yeah, what's up? What's with that?
Look, ideally, yes, I would love for these comic conventions to get back to comics. But here's the big problem, and this is one of the main differences between 1997 and now. Look at the people behind the creation of comics in 1997 and look at the people behind the creation of comics, at least for the two main publishers right now. And you want to tell me that getting that out there and getting that more exposure is going to do good for the comic industry? It's not going to. People are fleeing the comic industry right now because of the shit that they're putting out. Because what we've been spending most of the show complaining about with film, it's 10 times worse in comics right now.
Massively.
It's not going to do anything.
I think it would benefit smaller production houses, like say Mark Millar's his massive imprint. Like if he had like a massive imprint, in the middle of the convention floor, would be great. But it is embarrassing what Marvel and DC are doing right now. Less embarrassing for DC, but more embarrassing for Marvel. In fact, we got a fucking hellfire.
But we also need to keep in mind that them not being there is just them not having panels in Hall H. They're still going to have their booths on the convention floor. So your comic creators are still going to be shoved in the corner. Now, what I would do is you've got all those different levels, and a lot of times they have those panels in some of those upper rooms. Take one of those like medium-sized ballrooms, make that an area for your comic creators. And I get that it's separated, but it's at least in an area where you're not trying to cram everything in all at once. You can give everyone more space, let them breathe. Like that might be something worth doing.
Yeah, it's like New York Comic Con. New York Comic Con's the same way. Like top floor, where all the exhibitors, the toys, and doodads, whatever. Bottom floor, you got artists. You got the artist alley. Everyone is down there.
That's pretty cool. I haven't been to New York Comic Con, but that sounds
really good. That
sounds awesome.
This is the big disagreement I had with Chris Gore at Dallas Fan Expo, because he was telling Kara that Eric needs to go to San Diego, and I said no. He needs to go to New York. That is the comic show he needs to go to. There's no point going to San Diego. New York.
I don't know. I know a Frank Gore. I don't know if I know Chris Gore, but yeah, I know.
It's Chris Gore from Film Threat.
Yeah, there you go.
I would also say we need to be very, very careful too, because things like San Diego Comic-Con have become so much of a beast and have become so expensive. And you've got these studios that are footing a large part of that bill. And the moment you start pulling that away, instead of finding a way to find balance, the moment you start pulling them out, it's going to start forcing higher costs for the creators. And San Diego Comic-Con, like I think to have like for the Artist Alley, I think their booth was like a $1,500 for like the smallest little booth.
It's like a little, it's 6 by 6.
Day.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
6 by 6 per day.
Per day. And it's like at that point, you're not making any money. You're literally going in there knowing financially I'm going to have a loss. And hopefully I meet enough people that 2 years from now, 5 years from now, I benefit from it. And that's a huge fucking gamble.
Hopefully you pre-sell a lot of commissions before you get there.
Oh, God.
It's a big gamble, and it's something that's and that was actually going to be one of my questions, Josh, was because it doesn't say that in this article. It talks about how Disney and its subsidiaries, Marvel Studios and Lucasfilm, are not planning any panels, cutting off the chance to showcase the cast for upcoming projects like Marvel's Loki Season 2, Ahsoka, Haunted Mansion, and etc., like a couple other things. But I wasn't sure if they were either going to have a Hall H panel or if they were actually going to have a booth as well. So you're saying they're not going to have a booth either?
No.
Excuse me. Yes, they will have a booth. Yeah. They just won't have a panel. So it's still going to cost them thousands and thousands of dollars to ship everyone out there, put up the booth, put up all the comics or whatever it is that they're going to have out there, which probably won't be comics. But
that Thursday, that the load-in day, Wednesday, the Wednesday that load-in day, it's like a construction site throughout the whole place. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely, man.
Would you like to know my opinion?
Yes, please. I would love to hear that.
Forever and ever, hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, that all God omnipotent reigneth. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. It needs to burn before it can get any fucking better. Burn that place to the fucking ground. Shrink these damn things. You're like, Josh, you're like the people who defend the housing market. No, let it crash. Let it fucking crash. Let these people lose their fucking money. It's insane that they should have this much in the first place. The whole thing needs to reset and equalize. You can't have a convention where it's literally a loss to go there. You are using all of the creative energy of the comic book community to fucking facilitate putting money in your pockets. It's so fucked up. These conventions have become just like a way for them to squeeze us for all the shit that we're worth. And they've managed to take the shiny people, put them out front, and take money straight out of the pockets of the freaking creative people who used to be what these conventions were about. That's why I go to conventions, for creative people, not fucking actors. I don't give two shits about these actors. Any of them. And honestly, like it's terrible, because it's like they are upstaging the people that are there. Sorry, these people don't get enough respect. We're here to celebrate them. Stop coming into our space and ruining the fucking power dynamic.
But I think that's kind of what...
I disagree with you, but what I will say is you have to look at this as, if you've got San Diego Comic-Con and they suddenly start going, we're not making enough money, we're going to have to figure something out. If they decide they have to downsize, guess what they're not going to include? Comic creators. Sorry.
Yeah, because
unfortunately what's selling the tickets are the movies and the actors.
It's not. It is because that's their new business model. The new business model's failing. Now we need to go back to the old business model. The old business model was the creative people that people respect, or what gets the butts in the seat. The people who are gourmands are ultimately,
but they don't have that.
People,
and that's
Morrison's and Chris Claremont's and Dan Jurgens and Jim Chang's and Alan Heinberg's, and there's plenty of people out there who are wonderful creative people who could be invited to these things, and Four Horsemen Studios and sculptors, and there's so many wonderful creative people. We've just forgotten, because in the past decade they've been promoting all of these losers who are just social virtue signaler guys who are like, hey, I politicked and I got my job. Politicking to get your job diminishes the entire industry. It just
and that's the thing, because there's parts where I agree, because there are like Terrificon. Drew, you've been sending me pictures of all the creators from Terrificon.
That is a comic book
show. I am just like, I am blown away. It's my dream con, because it's everyone that we love from the Silver and Bronze Age, and there are maybe not hundreds, but there's a really, really good amount of them that are going to be there. But because the comic book industry has run all those fans out, and they've said, these are your new creators that we want you to like. We want you to like these new people, and these are the new fans. These are the new creatives. No one will go see those people, because they don't have either the money, or they don't believe that this is actually something that's cool. They're just doing it to virtue signal or put it up on Twitter or something. So I think
the conventions, though.
Say again.
I think you're right that that the general consensus is like, oh man, there's been a changing of the guard, and I don't really prefer these new guards. But when somebody says there's a comic convention going on, nobody goes, I'm not going to go to that comic convention, because that comic convention is still going to have all the classic comics, and it might have any of our classic creators hanging out, and it's going to have a bunch of toys representing classic depictions of the things that we like. And so I mean, I really think that conventions are the place where these right now, the new business model is the Kickstarter business model, where you raise and you make your money and whatnot. And then the other part of that has to be going out and doing outreach, going to conventions and connecting directly with the marketplace and the fandom. And I think that's still there to be done. People to be walking around the convention floor and spot some wonderful poster made by some great artist that they've never heard of and go, hey, what's this? What are you making? And leave with a couple comic books. So, I mean, it's really just the whole basis of what comic conventions are is the collection of the craftsmen. And we know how to do this with or without Marvel and DC Comics. It's people who appreciate craftsmen, and we're the same people who make books of tattoo art, and collect all these things together. We lovingly curate all this shit that we love, and come together to to worship at the altar of of our favorite things. That is doable. And we don't need corporate permission, and we can fill each other's pockets with money and create a community that sustains itself, honestly, as far as I'm concerned. 1,000 people, or less than 860 people, raised $57,000 for the number 0 issue, and a number 0 issue of Merc Comics Guns and Angels, right?
Yeah.
860 people. That's not a lot of people at all. It's sick, and that's a like that's not goes to me because I'm hired for that book. But if my books for my Kickstarters do as well for the ones that I'm about to do, that's I can make a living for my children on comic books in the current marketplace. A bunch of individuals like that, plus community created by conventions, caring about the craftsmen, reaching out to the people who make this stuff. That's it, man. And and more than just comics, people who make custom glasses frames and custom drawers and custom jewelry and like just craftspeople. That's what comic book people love. We love creativity in all of its forms, and we just want to see a world that's brighter and more colorful than we live in right now.
I think it was really interesting because I think it was either Mark Miller. Yeah, I think it was another tweet that Mark had posted, but he was basically saying, because someone had posted, they had posted a question on his initial thread. But one of the things that he was saying is that whenever those big production companies and all those big Hall H people would come in, they would never buy anything You know, they don't bring anyone that actually buys the stuff on the floor. Whereas like those older comic conventions from the, you know, late 90s, early 2000s, they were buying stuff. I mean, Josh and Drew both saw me at Dallas Fan Expo. I had shit packed up in my suitcase, you know, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to buy comics and I wanted to buy posters and
do a bunch of shit that you haven't seen on the rack for years.
Yeah. So I think, ultimately, I think I agree. I agree with all you guys in different aspects, right? Because I think ultimately, it's the new model of actors and Hall H is going to bring more people to San Diego Comic-Con. It's more of a pop culture event than a comic book convention. That's how they've wanted to market it. But if that's not how it's going to go anymore, and they do go to the way of comics, which it should go, who is there to promote solely on the basis of comics? I don't think we have those people right now because of the fact that the comic book what would you call that? Community, environment, culture has promoted people that aren't your classics like your Chris Claremonts or your Walt Simonses or your David Michelinis or any of those guys who are still currently working, but you would never know because they're trying to push Tom King and Tom Taylor and Teenie Howard and Stephanie Phillips. And all
these
stuff.
people to a convention changes the whole dynamic. This is an argument that I've had with my dad a million times, right? My father is a brilliant songwriter. He's not really known for being like this virtuoso singer and whatnot, but he wrote all the songs for Twisted Sister and other ones. And he's very talented. And there's a couple songs in particular that just never got attention, but they're great. And I keep telling him, play that song. Go play that song. And he's like, nobody knows that song. It's like, it's a great song. They will know it once they hear it. And then they'll go, holy shit, how come I haven't heard this song? And when you're dealing with the same thing in like the comic industry, when people start playing this game where all of a sudden I'm not calling Joe Kelly to invite him to a comic convention because, Joe was 10 years ago or something, like fuck that. Who cares? Call Chuck Dixon. Get him down to this freaking convention. Call Alan Grant. Call Simon Bisley. There's a shitload of creators. Call Dale Keown. Call freaking Madriera. And call freaking
Kelly Jones. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Kelly Jones.
So many cool people. The dude who created Crypt and Prophet. I love that guy. Stephen Platt. There's so many cool people.
Yeah.
This just goes on forever. Keith Giffen. And it just one after another. And Kevin McGuire. And brilliant creative people. Like, I could fucking if you really wanted me to sit here, I could probably list 200 brilliant creative people by myself that you could invite to one of these shows that would make me go, oh my God. And we could just start with the friggin' creators from Image Comics, go on down and go through Cliffhanger and go through Vertigo creators and Vertigo writers and Vertigo Jason Aarons and Brian Azzarello's, and it just fucking goes on forever. Azzarello and Nick Bradshaw and Art Adams and Walt Simonson and fucking man. Like, to say that there are no creative people in this business is to have been brainwashed by the past 10 years of comics, which literally just stopped hiring those guys. I guess because they're white. It's the
what Walt Simonson was told is that the audience, whatever, they don't know who he's too old. Like, he's too old school.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
that or they tell them that their style is not what people want to buy these days. I'm not saying that's not what I want. I would love to see that. That's something I would go to. What I'm saying is the people that are running San Diego Comic-Con are going to go, that's not going to give us the amount of ticket sales that we want. So we're not going to do that. That's my point.
Oh, sorry.
And I'm all for that. Burn it to the ground and start over.
Yeah. And it's going to take them really doing bad. And this is why I say burn, baby, burn. Because they're not going to change. They're not going to change their attitudes. Their attitudes are that this stuff has no value. And so, Aaron's not here to talk about this, but I'll talk about it on his behalf. He used to be one of the guys in the San Diego crew. He would get me passes, whatnot. He would be buying exclusive toys so that he could, resell them. But he was a volunteer. So he was for years and years and years. And he watched as the whole regime changed. As Hollywood took notice of the space, people who cared about Hollywood's notice took notice of the space. And all of a sudden, almost slowly, but overnight, everybody who was there for the wrong reasons. And now
yeah.
you have a convention that's being run by Hollywood people, and we're never going to get rid of those people until something like this happens. And they start to go, oh, well, maybe me volunteering my time isn't as good for my career in Hollywood as it was last year. And that's when those people start leaving, and new people like Aaron, who was literally, not that he was pushed out, but he was pushed out in the way of he didn't like the culture anymore of all these volunteers. That it wasn't the same kind of group of people that it was yesterday. It was a group of superficial, Hollywood-driven, actor-minded people, and not creative people.
I will say that I think the last thing I'll probably say on this is I agree that I think the coolest thing, and I think where was it? Mike Has Bad Knees had talked about it, and I know Jesse had talked about it, but this might be another option too. Is parallel economy. What if we got someone who had the money, just some billionaire who was like, you know what? Screw San Diego Comic-Con. They can do their thing, but we're going to do one, and we're going to put it, I don't know, somewhere in the
across
US.
The street. Do it directly across the street or something.
There you go. We'll find another convention center somewhere.
You just need a ballroom.
Yeah, well, if we do, because like you said, there are so many creators out there, and this is what this would be my dream con, especially like Terrificon, something like that where it's literally all just creators and comics that are still running and gunning and doing great work, or just legacy guys. I something like that I would be all in for. Take all my money. I think there needs to be someone to come along and say, listen, we've strayed too far from the path. Let's get back on track and let's do this Comic-Con thing right. But
wasn't that what WonderCon was supposed to be?
Yeah,
that's a good question. I don't know.
For a minute. They underestimate the real weight and power of creative people doing creative things. No name attached to it whatsoever. Like everybody wants to be able to draw. Everybody wishes that they could make something beautiful. Nobody, the straight normie who knows nothing about comics, you pick them up by their head, you drop them at the end of Artist Alley, and you have them walk down a good Artist Alley, and their head's going to spin around multiple times. They don't have to be a fucking comic fan to go, oh my God, look at this shit. This is beautiful. You made this? This is so cool. Very cool, man. I really love it. Nice to meet you. Bye. I've seen a million just normal guys who decided to walk into a convention and, coming up to me or a friend or whatever to go, wow, this is really cool. I didn't know anything about this. Fairly neat, and moving on. And maybe they don't buy another comic again, but it's just to say that the comic convention, the celebration of craftsmen and the art form, people appreciate that. They don't have to know who anybody is to recognize when somebody's making something beautiful.
Let me ask you guys this, and this will be the last question of the night. Why do you think these big corporations have dropped out of SDCC? Do you think it's money? Do you think it's that they don't have anything to offer? Because
I'm just going to say it's money. I'll just say
you think it's just finances?
Yeah,
it's not even that. It's gonna. You mean this year specifically? Like, why? Why did Disney? Why did Sony? Why did Universal? Why did they all pull out?
Yeah, because in the article it says they're cutting off the chance to showcase the cast for upcoming projects like The Marvels, Loki Season 2, Ahsoka, Haunted Mansion. And I'm looking at these and I'm like, no one would go to Hall H for those. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see that their projects would really pull. So what do you think, Josh?
It comes down. It's right now this year specifically. It's because of the actors, and you've already had SAG within itself vote that they want to strike.
Oh, yeah.
So that unless they come to a negotiation behind the scenes before we reach July, which is not looking promising, those actors are going to strike. You're going to have a strike with the WGA, and then if an actor shows up to go do this convention, they're technically crossing the picket line. So you're not going to have any actors there. And if you think about the panels, the big hype and spectacle and everything was like, oh, I get to see this actor. And we didn't like Loki, right? Okay, we weren't fans of the show. But people love Tom Hiddleston, and they love him as Loki. And if you're going to come up here and say, hey, we got the Fantastic Four that we're going to announce, people are going to get excited. it's the reality of what that situation is. So yeah, they're pulling out of the Hall H for those reasons. Like if I can't have actors there, because even if we're like, oh, I don't care, it's so much buzz and so much money is made from that that cycle of here's the hype, here's the hype, here's the hype.
Yeah, I want to add to what Josh said, because you're 100%. But there's really an extra layer to it, and people just aren't talking about this enough. We've seen this done time and again, and basically it's this money bubble thing that gets created when outside investment firms throw lots of money at things. This happened with the internet, years ago, and now it has happened with the streaming services. So the past 6 years, the amount of content that they have been putting out is insane. And 99.99999% of all the shit that they've released is loss leaders. So even though the writers are going and striking to get this, get their money for Cobra Kai and for Stranger Things, Cobra Kai and Stranger Things are 0.0000001% of what they're creating. And they have been marketing and advertising and trying to war for the streaming, the content to be the winner. And here we are, 6 years later or something, and no one has won. And all that has happened is all of these companies have been spending, hoping to win this money, and they've actually gotten themselves into some serious trouble financially. Yep. So this strike that just happened, it happened out of choice. The studio went, money is drying up. There are banks that are closing down right now. There's a lot of very strange financial things going on in the world. And like I said, it's basically come to an end, the streaming wars, where everybody's kind of decided they're going to have to switch to a new model where basically they go back to the old model and they start licensing their shit out to other companies, and they don't do everything themselves because nobody can win. So that whole thing, it's a real interesting time. I mean, Hollywood is paused. I kind of love it as a comic book creator, because I'm just like, I'm going to take advantage of this, vacuum, because I could see a situation where it stays like this for at least a year.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not take advantage of the opportunity while everyone is stopped writing, who's part of and stopped acting from, who's part of Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA and stuff. Now you have an opportunity. Like, I know Chuck Dixon is writing more than he ever has. You know what I mean? Like, so guys like that who are like, yeah, I'm just going to take this opportunity.
He should be one who's constantly busy.
He should
absolutely
be constantly busy, man. He is one of those guys that as a fan, there was always this disconnect for me where I was like, why isn't this person getting more work? Hasn't anybody noticed how good this guy is on this book? Hasn't anybody noticed this? What happened to Chuck Dixon? That guy always wrote great stuff. Why isn't he getting hired anymore? At no point in time did his work ever start to not be great. He's just not working. I don't understand. And there's lots of people like Alan Grant's another one of those guys who, I can't say that Alan Grant's work ever, it's all consistent. His Judge Dredd shit, his Batman shit, it's always pretty cool. I don't understand why he's not still having work. And his name is propagated. They're selling thousands of copies of trade paperbacks of books that he's written every year at these companies. People think they don't know his name? Of course, he's still being sold in stores today. It's boggles my mind.
Yeah, it's wild, man. And go ahead.
I was going to say, I can tell you 100% why Chuck Dixon is not writing, at least for DC.
Oh, of course.
And it was because of his politics. And they point blank told him that. So.
Oh, I know, but it's not that it's in the books. He's not somebody who was ever rocking the boat in any way. I met with him because before my divorce and before whatever, I was getting pre-enterprising. I made this comic book that I'm finally going to finish with this Kickstarter called King of Kings, which, by the way, guys, if you're watching and you have a Kickstarter, go to Kickstarter King of Kings #1 later and sign up for notifications, because it'll be going live in a couple weeks. But anyway, I was really trying to move things forward. We did a comic book. Aaron was working with me on this stuff for Four Horsemen Studios, and we were talking to Chuck Dixon. We also spoke to Scott McDaniel for a moment about putting together a book that would just be a really classic Chuck Dixon kind of concept that we could promote as, part of this thing. And he was somebody that I believed in terms of somebody needs to get behind this guy. the right artist and the right project, and it'll sell and it'll be great and it could be a big hit for me. If they're not going to support him, I'll support him. But we didn't really get a chance. But I knew that was a fucking successful thing, and of course he's back writing 1 million books. He's great.
Yeah, and like you guys said, it's tough to watch those guys, like especially when their work wasn't declining and they were still producing great stuff, and yet because they didn't agree or they didn't vote the same or they didn't think the same, like that's pretty messed up, man. It's pretty bad. But on your what you guys were talking about, streaming services, yeah, pretty soon I think we're gonna have like 3 main ones, and then everyone is just going to license to those 3 main services. It's just going to depend on who's
down to 3. I don't think that's going to be the case. What have you heard that makes you think that?
I just think that there are going to be 3 that monopolize it, or like, I don't know, because
they've been trying to monopolize it for 6 years now, and no one has succeeded. Netflix has managed to still hang in there, but they look like they've been through a fucking war. Every one of these companies look like they've been through a war. They don't have the equity to like pull more money because the banks know what's really going on here. So they're all like, they don't have the ability to posture anymore. All that extra money that was coming in from the outside, everybody recognizes that all the money was fighting with each other. I'm going to throw money to Paramount Plus. I'm going to throw money to HBO. So I literally think it's going to end up all middle tier things where some of them will go and some of them will, because nobody's ever going to be able to turn it into a monopoly. Not at this point. I don't believe so, unless something changes majorly.
You're starting to see some of the changes already. So I agree. You're probably going to have 3 streaming services that are the like 3 main streaming services, and Netflix is probably going to stick around. You're going to have Disney Plus, which is going to be Disney Plus, Hulu, ABC. All that's going to get crammed into one, and then you're going to have a third one. Now, who's that third one going to be, and what is it going to consist of? We'll see.
HBO.
But and you're already starting to see this as well. What they're going to do is they're going to put all this together, kind of go back to what the original idea of what Hulu was in the very beginning of, hey, those TV shows that, you can't really find anywhere, we've got them for you here. Like the ones from 10 years ago you want to watch, they're here. Hey, you want to watch TV live? It's here. Actually, you know what? That third one, it's going to be YouTube. You watch. Oh, well. It's going to be YouTube.
I was going to say maybe Twitter or something, but yeah.
Yeah, I actually watch a lot of YouTube now on my TV.
Because I bet you're going to see YouTube probably partner with Apple or something. You will say 4 because you're going to have Prime Video. So I think you're going to have Netflix, Disney Plus.
Like, that's why I say I don't think it's ever going to because like Paramount Plus will take everybody's in this move where they're used to sort of signing up, canceling based on shows, and it's relatively easy to do that, and it's kind of impossible to just maintain people's attention forever. Even the companies producing the best content, they're still hit and miss. Netflix, when they're killing it the best, is still only killing it some of the time. You only need the subscription for a couple months. So, I really think that just leaves a place where nothing's ever going to be dominated exactly until some major hack to this paradigm happens.
Yeah. Well, I know that we could probably keep talking about this for another hour or so, because it is really interesting in terms of streaming services and stuff. But I do want to call it a night there. So for everyone in the chat, thank you guys so much for being here tonight. This was super fun. I know we didn't get to our last one, which was basically the Disney's chief of diversity leaving her position. But realistically, like the ones that are probably the leaving. So we covered that topic anyway. Yeah, right. So but we got some great conversations in, and I'm very grateful to this panel for hanging out. Thank you, Dirty Jersey. This is always a great stream, and I really appreciate you guys being here. I'll go this way, Drew, if you want to start, and then we'll just kind of one to 2 sentences. What do you guys got coming up in the next few weeks, months, and where can we find you?
So I'm working on another project for Merc Publishing right now. Can't say exactly what it is. And I also have 3 different projects I'm working on with Murat Michaels right now. One of which will be announced on Josh's channel because it is massive. And
this week?
Not this week. I'm still checking with Murat. Can I say something yet? Can I say anything yet? He's like, no, not yet. Not yet. But it's big, and hopefully we'll have a big New York Comic-Con presence for this thing. But I can't wait. So yeah, you can find me at Facebook and Instagram, Dolan Waddick.
Cool. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Jesse, well, you've got a podcast, you've got all kinds of cool stuff coming up. You've got a book coming out.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody just missed the boat on number 1 of Guns and Angels from Rourke Publishing as well. That just ended, but the second issue will be on track relatively soon. But my book, King of Kings, number 1, is going to be going live on Kickstarter in like 2 weeks. So please go sign up for notifications there. I do a show, Coolest Geek Alive, every Wednesday for Comic Book Day, and just basically talking about the adaptation and handling of this material as somebody who cares about the source material. And this Wednesday I'm going on to Film Threat again for like the 4th week in a row to just sort of help be a performer as a character. I'll let it be a surprise because I think it's supposed to be a surprise who I am this week. But that ought to be fun. If you haven't been watching Film Threats, Disney Star Wars trial, it's been a lot of fun. And I just really appreciate what Score is trying to do, in his heart of hearts, even though it's a little biased, the conversation right now. He would just love to open up a conversation and let a conversation about these things be more commonplace and practice, and people get a little bit more used to defending themselves and articulating their points. And I think that's so valuable, and I'm really excited to be a part of that. So yeah, thanks for having me as always. Love you guys. Appreciate you hanging out with me. Appreciate my girlfriend's on a little cool vacation right now. She's touring with Church, and she's their merch girl for like a week and a half with some good friends of hers, and so I had the night to myself, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm down to stream. So this is nice.
Fantastic, man. Good. I'm glad you were able to come on. But I will agree with the chat here. Mark McGrath and just some rando. You got to work on your enthusiasm, man. I mean, you got to throttle up next time. Let's get some. You're a little monotone. We can. Oh man, we love you, brother. So thank you for being here. You bring a lot of light and a lot of happiness and laughter to this stream. So, and a lot of great takes. So, Josh, the man himself. This is your month. This is your week. This is your night. What do you got coming up this Tuesday? You'll be going live on your channel. Anything else that we can look forward to?
I want to say I love that we're like, oh, it's my month, and I'm like, fuck Pride on Twitter. So tomorrow night I'm going to be on Flaccid's channel. We'll be doing Premature Ejection. Tuesday night, Culture Popped, on my channel, Pop by Culture. Come see it. We also have next month we are rolling out graphic content, so we'll have panels discussing graphic novels, and then in August we're going to have Real Talk, so we'll have a panel talking about films. So a couple things coming in the pipeline. We're already kind of assembling some people behind the scenes to get ready for that. Super excited. Wednesday I'm going to have a cram study session. I've got my final license test Thursday morning, and then Thursday night I'll be on Roman of the Empire's channel, and we're going to discuss Secret Invasion. So staying busy.
Oh, how does one get onto graphic content?
You can message this person named Joshua McDonald, who's this hack person that tries to get shit done.
Does it require a handy or anything, or can I just read
well, now that you mention it.
MVP won't take one for the team.
My goal, and this kind of goes back to what Jesse was talking about earlier. My goal with a lot of what we're doing is to discuss things that we love, and that doesn't mean to shill for it, but to just be honest. So if we discuss a comic, we want to go into detail, talk the story, talk about what we love, talk about maybe what we feel like could have been done better. But I want to get back to discussing things that we love and that we're passionate about, because there's so much good stuff out there, and I think the negative conversations right now are the loudest voices, and I think we can come back to a real place. So my goal is just to get people that love whatever we're discussing. So whether it's comics in general, or maybe it's just specifically Batman comics or X-Men comics, whatever it might be. Like Doc, from Thinking Critical that's on Comics Aficionados. I am 100% pulling him for any X-Men conversation I have because he loves it. And he's going to be able to discuss, this is what's good, this is why I love it, and this is why I pick this up and read it and champion this. And if something didn't work, he'll be like, it didn't really work, but I can forgive it and enjoy this. So that's the goal. Doctor.
No, I love it, dude, and that's great. I'm really looking forward to when you guys start doing that. But yeah, if there's any Wolverine content that you guys want to cover, or Silver Surfer, any graphic novels that you guys do, please, I'm your guy.
For sure.
But yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to all of the things that you guys have coming up, because it sounds like for the most part, even Aaron has some creative stuff that he's going to be releasing. So it sounds like all of us are very, very busy working on our own creative. Doomface. Kneel before Doomface.
On Twitter, Aaron Sparrow's on Twitter, and get your updates on his Doomface Kickstarter, which is going to be coming. I've been following, been a part of that process for a long time. Me and Aaron have been working together for like 15 years now, so we're kind of like impromptu editors for each other.
Nice.
I did something. Can you read it for me? So, and I can tell you that the book is great, and he really put in the work to elevate it to another level. I mean, like the final version of what you're going to see from this Doomface book, because like down to the title, like the book wasn't called Doomface, but Doomface was the strongest aspect of it, and it's really great. And I keep getting text messaged all the artwork, and it's great.
Love it, dude. Yeah, it's looking great. So I'm stoked to see the final product, especially when I hear him talk about, all you guys, whenever you talk about your respective projects, you always talk about it with such creative integrity and such passion and reverence towards what it is that you're making. It reinvigorates my passion for those books and those creations. So, well, that is all for this evening. Thank you guys again for hanging out with us in the man cave, in Max's man cave. It's always a pleasure to have you chat and panel. And I don't think I have anything specific coming up this week. Still just been doing Warhammer shorts, comic book shorts, X-Men the Animated Series wrap-ups and stuff, and that's been a lot of fun. I have been interacting with some people that I am hopefully going to get on the channel to get some of their favorite single-issue comic books and asking them some questions about that, and we'll see if it becomes a series or see if it becomes something. What's up, Josh? Did someone say?
Just some randos last comment.
Oh, favorite Wolverine backs out slowly. Laura Kinney. Well, now that they are calling her Wolverine instead of X-23, sorry. She has a character. It's X-23. She's not Wolverine. They're two different people. So
agreed. I like X-23. So,
and I don't. So no, I'm
you don't like X-23 even as X-23?
She's fine.
I've read a lot of good stories with X-23. Yeah, I don't know if you've never read, and I seriously recommend this to you and the chat. If you've never read Craig Kyle's Taking Over of the New X-Men, this new X-Men book that they launched, it was a while back. It really was weak as hell, and they brought him in, I think, around like issue 12 to kind of like take another stab at it, and he just. And I think he was writing it with a partner who's
they were working on Uncanny X-Force too, and that was amazing. They had Clayton Crane on interiors. It was incredible.
That was what they were promoted to X-Force. It started all with New X-Men, and that New X-Men run is amazing. That's that character Rock Slide and Dust, and why some people really love those characters, even though they seem like they've done nothing. They did some things. It was all in that New X-Men book written by Craig Kyle. It was fucking awesome. And there are trade paperbacks of that shit. Those are some of the best X-Men comics I've ever read, and they star X-Men characters that you've never heard of.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Well, thank you for the recommendation, because you know what, maybe I just haven't read the right stuff, and maybe I just haven't gotten a chance to
Kyle
read
and
some
Yoss. Christopher Yoss, that's the name of it.
Yeah.
So I will definitely take a look at that, because I'm always reading new stuff. Like this weekend, I texted Josh and I was like, "You ever read this? I'm reading this right now," and I just kept sending him different pictures of stuff that I was reading this weekend, and it's on your computer. It's literally right here for you guys. this is one of the things that's always kind of weird to say. Even though the comic book industry is in a really rough spot, as a comic book reader, damn, dude, you've got a lot of options, and they are right here on your computer, and you can find them, and you can read anything, and it's awesome.
I said that on my show about the Daredevil comic book because I was telling people I started with the Marvel Knights and Kevin Smith and Joe Quesada's run, and that leads into Brian Michael Bendis's run, and then you have to skip over one bad run when Daredevil gets possessed by a demon, then it gets into Mark Waid's run, then it gets into this fucking Chip Zdarsky run. Dude, Daredevil, like it's as if like I can give somebody a series to watch, to read that has 70 seasons of fucking
yeah, it's awesome.
God, read this. It'll take forever, and it's worth it. It's so worth it. And then go back and you can read some Frank Miller shit, which I think the style of some of the Frank Miller stuff, the way it's written, is a little bit a little passé compared to the more recent Daredevil stuff. But oh man, like that one in particular is a book that's so easy to recommend to anybody because there's so few crappy runs.
Yeah, Daredevil's been a really, really great character to read and understand.
Nostalgia Knockback coming up, Max. How can you not be excited for that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Listen to Jesse and Drew. Just go read the old stuff. He's got plenty of stuff out there. It will literally. I am convinced that I will die not being able to read every single comic that I will ever want to read, and that's just the nature of comic books.
Could be.
Yeah, it's not. It should be my goal to read everything.
To read everything.
I can't.
I never read it, but I'm trying to get. Like I showed you earlier, I found a bunch of Cerebus comics. I'm trying to get through Cerebus. I'm trying to read these and get through these. Dave Simmons is an interesting cat.
I have a finite time on this earth, and during that time, I will hopefully read every comic book that I will ever want to read. But we shall see. Once again, chat panel, you guys have been amazing. Thank you guys again for being here tonight. It is always a pleasure to have y'all in Max's Man Cave, and I will see you guys this week in some later videos, or I will see you guys next week when we do the weekly comic wrap up with Comics Elite, or when we come back for Warhammer Building and Max's Man Cave. So thank you guys again. Love y'all, and I will see you guys soon. Reject modernity and embrace your legacy. See you guys soon.